Hello everyone, welcome to the Mind High Podcast. This is Z. We've been a little up and down in doing the episodes. Unfortunately, we had a move from our old office, from our old studio. But hopefully going into the future, we'll be doing this on a more normal basis. Anyway, in today's podcast, we're talking about a bunch of things like we always do. We're going to talk about eating right, fighting our cravings, making the right decision, how we as humans observe our instincts and how that makes us special. And we also talk about Paul Stamets and his mind-boggling research on fungi from his recent podcast on Joe Rogan. We also talk about meat eating, the morality behind that, and also the philosophies and ideas of Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. And then we get a little bit into some of the lost knowledge from our ancient deep past and what we might be missing. Alright, so let's dive in.
We're live.
Alright, Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Did you say we're live or we're alive? Because that's, I feel
Are
we
alive
terrified.
or are we alive? Are we here?
The
or
way
are we
things
there?
are going, for how long will we stay alive?
Nothing stays alive.
What was that episode Joe Rogan just did with the one guest? And they were talking about healthcare and how if this trend continues by 2040 something, this entire country will be done because of the cost.
Yeah, I think his name was Chris Kresser. He's some kind of a nutrition scientist or some kind of doctor.
Yeah, he has patients and whatnot. Did you also hear about his recommendation of the potato diet? Where you just eat potatoes, put no fat, salt, nothing. And apparently you can lose half a pound a day.
That sounds like a Matt Damon diet. Starts going potato.
But then what more on that? Like, what, I guess you would have negative effects, right? It's not, we don't just want to lose fat. What else do you want to lose? You don't want to just lose weight. You want to be healthy. So what
Yeah,
more
I guess
is there
losing
to-
weight doesn't just amount to automatically
Like he was
being healthier.
recommending the potato diet?
He said it's like a very old diet. It's really old school. It was mentioned I forgot when, but it's been a long time. I don't know how much research on it there is and the negative effects, but apparently all you do is you eat potato. It's supposed to be some type of food that's I guess good for you nutritionally, but all you do is eat potatoes.
But do you how do you supplement? Like even with a vegan diet where you're getting so many different vegetables, you still need to supplement. It's so hard to get some of the full proteins.
Yeah.
How does just potato do anything? It doesn't make sense.
Ask him, man. I'm sorry.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was just interesting. Apparently, you can lose half a pound a day.
You might die, but you'll be
No,
miserable.
well, he was saying that you do it for 3 days out of the week,
Just potato.
and then you do your normal diet for 4 days.
Damn, I might try this because I do love potatoes. I just need a diet to tell me I can do it.
There you
I
go.
just need a fate to tell me I can do it.
Yeah.
Sweet potatoes are pretty good, but yeah, I don't know shit about diets. I at the moment I know you guys are all into it, but I'm not that into it.
Yeah, I really enjoy nutrition.
But it's
it's
interesting.
It also goes into ethics and what you basically what you eat and what you drink is so much of who you are.
Because that's what you're supporting.
I think for me,
Yeah.
it's ever since I got married, I already have so much shit on my plate. Trying to juggle so many things. The last thing I want to think about is what the fuck do I have to eat?
Yeah.
In terms of eating healthy, and I do make a subconscious effort to eat healthy, but it's at the point where I wish I was at your level. But it's one of those things that's in the
But-
bottom of my priorities right now.
But
Which is
that
not
level
good.
is actually more adult level.
Yeah,
We're kind of acting like adults because moms and people who are really, really especially when your daughter gets older,
yeah.
and you have more kids, you'll want your kids to eat
Eat
healthy.
healthy as well, absolutely.
Exactly. So
I mean,
you're gonna care more about it sooner or later, anyways.
No, I make sure she eats healthy right now anyway. I make sure she's getting the right diet and stuff like that. But for me, for my own self, I don't, which is kind of weird. I was thinking about that today. But I don't know. It's one of those things I always start to see, okay, I got to start working out. I got to start eating healthy. Or when are you going to do that? I started looking at my schedule.
It's
shit, man.
But to me, with healthy eating, I don't.
Yeah, it's not that.
I think you're.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I think we
I know what
think
you're
it's like
saying.
a really big thing and it takes a lot of time, but it actually doesn't.
Right.
Because like if you're informed about what decision to make whenever you go out or eat at
Yeah.
home, it's that it could be as simple as not eating bread,
Yeah.
not eating rice. It's so simple. Like you can substitute different things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like take time out of your day. You just make the right decision when it's like in front of you.
Yeah, I guess
think.
my problems has to do with like that old school mentality of like being healthy comes from being in the gym. So if I'm not in there, then eating good doesn't matter, which is not wrong, which is not correct, but my brain is programmed that way. So like subconsciously think like that. So like, even though when I'm trying to eat healthy, I'll do it when I'm more aware of it, but my subconscious like goes the way it doesn't care. So majority of the time I just don't care.
Like where do you think you're messing up? Like what kind of cravings do you get or what foods do you eat? Do you think?
Well, I mean, lately, I just if someone mentions let's go out and eat or anything, I'll just do it before. I'm like, no, man, I already ate fast food like twice, or twice in 1 week or once a month. I already ate. I'm capped out, But now I just don't care. I think a lot of that has to do with me since I'm not working out. It doesn't matter if I'm eating healthy or not. In order to fix my diet, I feel like I need to go to the gym, just for me.
Which is not right at all.
Which is not right. Yeah, which I said it's not.
You're a bad person.
Yeah, I know.
If anything, it's reversed. If you're having a bad diet, you got to make sure you're in the gym to burn those extra calories off.
Well,
that's what
but
I'm
you
saying.
guys are talking logically. I actually agree with him as somebody who's kind of goes up and down a lot. What happens is if I'm not doing one thing, I convince my mind the other is not important.
You just lie to yourself.
Yeah, you lie to yourself
It's
and you say
excuse.
until it's perfect, then I don't need to do it.
But I still don't get it because
It doesn't make logical sense.
No, yeah.
It's what your brain does.
sure.
Which I'm already saying it's not logical.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Because to me, I can like not go to the gym for a long time, but like you said, you're observing the fact that
When
you're
I do,
just you're tricking yourself. Your brain is tricking yourself, or
Right.
something like that. So if you're observing that, why can't you make that change?
if I make an effort of being aware all the time, if I'm aware I gotta eat healthy, then I do it. I always make the choice like it's too late to eat or don't eat too much. But I turned that awareness off in terms of food. I love my subconscious decide lately, and it's adding up. So I gotta go back to being aware.
But it has a lot to do with schedule as well.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed, at least with myself, and I've read a lot about this also. For instance, if you have a good lunch, right?
Yeah.
And after every, like, say, salty lunch that you had, you always crave sugar.
Yeah.
Right? Because salt and sugar, the opposite. You kind of tend to crave sugar. Now, if you give yourself, let's say we go to Starbucks and you get a latte every time or something after that, which I used to do, then your body actually craves sugar every time after lunch. You're going to crave it because it's like it's on that schedule. Like it knows this is what it's going to get. So that bacteria is there sitting, craving it. But if I denied myself sugar, like just have like some willpower, just a little bit, and you just deny that, and you do it for 4 weeks, the bacteria is no longer there. You don't even have the craving. So it just becomes easier to do things.
Yeah, and for me, that always works when I'm aware. Like, if I'm aware that craving's kicking in, then I close my eyes and I would imagine that it's just a signal or a light bulb that's going on telling me to go eat, go grab another coffee or eat another candy or get some sort of sugar inside you. Just a light bulb that turns on. That's all it is. Yeah. Once you understand what the brain is doing, then you can surpass it, and it's easier to do it, at least for me, But if I don't think about it, if I just let that light turn on, I'm not aware that it turned on, then I go attack whatever's telling me to attack or whatever option that's available in front of me. So I think for me, it's always helped. Like I don't have a hard time getting back into it, but I just got to make the commitment of being aware all the time. Yeah. Like if you're feeling lazy, just be aware that you're being lazy and tell yourself your brain is telling you that. But if you just make the effort and get in the car, you'll be at the gym and no longer your brain has an option. Yeah. If you can, it's like a mind hack almost. If you can conquer that,
it does feel like a battle. You're fighting your gut bacteria every single meal. Yeah. And for me, it's like I'm on that cycle. It's probably where you got it. It's like anytime I have like dinner or lunch, I'm like, man, okay, so what am I gonna have for dessert? And automatically kicks in when every morning I'll be like, okay, from now on I'm eating from this window to this window. I'm not gonna have any sugar. Yeah. Yet,
but here's the thing. The thing that he was talking about is, I think he hits it right on the head, that if you observe that craving or just observe anything that you're doing, being lazy or whatever, that goes a long way.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. It sounds easier to say, but once you are aware, then I think you make you have a better chance fighting that subconscious decision that you're making.
It's like a tug of war. Almost.
I guess because going along with what you just said, if you look deeper into it, you realize that initial craving or any feeling that you have that you don't like want to give into, you can kind of realize that there's like a layer of interpretation that's being done by your brain.
Yeah.
Like your brain is just simply being like, all right, this is when we get sugar.
Turn the
Go
light
get
on.
sugar.
Or just
And-
it's just like for me, it's
Yeah.
like turning the light on.
Yeah.
Part of your brain.
So you're letting your brain interpret with your gut or whatever, allow it to do what you need to do. But you can just stop and you'll be like, hold on, let me really feel that feeling.
Yeah.
Let me really think on that. And you realize it's not really there.
Yeah.
You know, you can very easily just kind of get beyond that.
Yeah, but it also depends. So some people, it's not as easy because for some people it could be a lot tougher. I guess it give and takes based on person to person.
Yeah.
But smaller, easier things, yes, and bigger things like if you love, like I used to love hookah before. So if thinking about giving it up, was kind of hard in the beginning. Anything that you love more is always gonna be harder to tell your brain not to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being simply aware, I think, is a big step forward to conquering that subconscious and defeating it.
Yeah. Because you draw the line
Yeah.
between what you need and what
Yeah.
you want.
'Cause you're
and
thinking,
it's a blurry line.
It's funny because we're thinking like two different thoughts equally. We're saying, yeah, we should go eat. Another one's saying, no, we shouldn't go eat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's interesting. One entity is communicating it, two different ideas at the same time,
Yeah.
and whichever one, what has more chemical balance or power, I don't know the size behind it, but like it's like one like you said, tug of war, sways the other one, then that party wins.
Yeah.
And this goes into all the free will and
Yeah, I was just gonna
causality.
say, yeah.
Because it's all for me, like now when I see neurons firing or consciousness, whatever, it's just all causality. It's just a bunch of neurons all over your head, and based on your past experiences, certain your part of your brain activity will be more, like seeing a McDonald's image might bring a memory of your childhood playing, and one thing leads to another. Now you're thinking about McDonald's and going there,
Yeah.
it's just
strange.
crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, I think today we were in the city and we were going by our old elementary school,
Yeah.
and I started remembering names of people that I completely had forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think, Shaz, you were there, right? Remember, I was just naming some names and stuff.
Yeah.
We were going by Jameson, I think. You remember where that was? That
Jameson
was on.
High School?
Yeah.
Jameson
Yeah.
Elementary.
Elementary?
Yeah.
I played against them in some kind of sport
Lacrosse.
Man, so much memories just came
Softball.
back.
Oh, really?
and basketball.
Nice.
I kind of your school ground had a big playground, right, with a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah.
basketball courts.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like funny how that image is like still there. It's like sunny and I see that high school.
That's what you think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, you were in Jameson, huh?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Um.
Was that close to you?
Yeah, because I was at Clinton.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those were like the two.
Yeah, like we
Nearby.
played against each other. Our schools played sports against each other.
Oh, wow.
And you went to Lane. Did we have like a linked history that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't know each other?
Yeah, right.
You were there, but you were not.
Yeah.
But what were you tying the story to for your high school?
Oh, nothing. Just like, because I would, like, for instance, if somebody had asked me the name of that person, like yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
I would get it wrong like 10 times before remembering it. So I would have no idea. But by just seeing the school, everything just flashed right away. Like, everything
insane
came.
how that works. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Have you ever like listened to a podcast and then let's say you went 20 minutes back? Like I was listening
Yeah.
to the Paul Stamets one, and when you listen to that part that you already listened to, a quick memory will like emerge that
Yeah.
you remember exactly where you were when you heard that last part the last time.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Especially if you're doing one that's more recent.
yeah, more recent. Like
Yeah.
I remember I heard the Paul Stamets again,
Yeah.
and I remember the exact road I was when I last heard that part, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Something like that. I had smoked, and I was just like imagining the apartment we used to live on California when we went to Jameson, and I was like, okay. And as I was putting the entire model together, I was walking through the apartment as I'm building it in front of me.
Yeah.
Such a trippy looking imagery. But I remember like the kitchen, once you turned the corner, it was it wasn't like a big kitchen, but for some reason my brain had made it super big, and then I shrunk it like in my mind, and I'm
Yeah.
like standing there making everything model to the
It's
best of my
insane.
memories, and my memories are patching
Yeah.
things in front of me, and I just like in a weird thing, because I was like, I knew exactly what was going on with my brain, so I quickly looked up and it was just black because I
Yeah.
hadn't put that part in yet. Then I put it. Okay, I remember. This is what I remember.
What's so cool now?
And like designing.
What's so cool now is that I was telling, I think I was speaking to Hasman about this like a week ago, that ever since like 2013, I want to say, when I linked Google Photos to my phone, that history of my life that's there in such a freaking amazing order is just amazing. I can just, it's always a treat just to scroll down backwards, and then all the pictures that you took, you remember exactly what was going on. So imagine if we had all these pictures from day one, right? So that's going to be my daughter's generation, or the kids that are growing up in this day. They're going to be, like Hasban was saying, he was telling me, like, this is going to be the era where kids that are being born now are going to have such a recorded history that no other human beings had it in the past, which is freaking insane. Because she can click on what Google does now is you can create an email for your child that's being born, create an account for them, and then all your photos that you back up, it'll store it and create videos for them. So in the future, it'll send them, remember this, your birthday. So here's a picture of your birth. You know, like, because they do that already now with our, you know, reminding us, like, with our past pictures. I don't know if you have that part of set up on your phone.
Yeah.
So imagine that, like, you know, like my daughter will see that in the future.
It's like this day 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and
30 years ago you were here.
Eventually,
like, holy shit. You know,
eventually there'll come a generation which basically will be trained that their brain doesn't need to keep pictures around, doesn't need to keep audio files, because you can just literally go back.
Because you'll just adapt.
That is part of your brain. You, instead of using your hard drive that's inside the computer, you offload it to an external hard drive, basically, and where all your memories are. And you don't have to keep that in your brain, making you more efficient in the moment.
Yeah,
this is kind of like Black Mirror. If you guys saw that episode where in the far future, everybody records every single thing. Like, they basically, I think, like, wear like a contact lens or something, where every single moment of yours is recorded. So people can't even lie anymore. So if somebody says something wrong, you can just stop that guy and go through his recording if you're near him and see what he did.
That's fucking insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's funny, because, like, me and my wife got into a little argument. I'm like, shit, I just wish this was recorded. Because, like, either one of us is freaking lying, you know? Like, maybe you misheard me, or maybe I misheard her. You know, like, when you're in the heat of the moment arguing, you got to make a case, you got to win. So, like, imagine, like, I was thinking, I wasn't thinking about that episode, but I was thinking more about AIs in the future. The benefit is either, so like, no one can get away with bullshit anymore, you know, at that sense. Because, like, scenarios like Trump, or, like, you know, like, all the shit that he says or he hasn't said, and someone has to come out and release something, and then no one wants to validate it. Or let's just say these accusations that are happening with Weinstein and whatnot. So all these girls that are coming out and saying that he did X, Y, and Z, but where's the proof? So you can just rewind your recording and play back the shit that he was doing, the audio or the video, let's just say.
Right.
Like, how fucking insane is that? Like, you'll have a storage, right, where all... oh, shit, I didn't even think about this. I was thinking about the AIs, but what if we get to a level where, like, if you wear contacts, from day one, all your memory and everything you ever saw just recorded, and you can
the
just
Black Mirror episode too.
Yeah, so you can just go back and forth anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just gonna be insane, dude. Like, all the dirty thoughts that you had, all the things that you did, you know, you saw. It's gonna be all there. But then who gets access to that?
Well, the episode gets crazier because
is this the one with John Hamm?
No, that's not the one. Do you remember what happens in the episode? Like, that couple has sex, but they don't have, even though they're having sex, they're playing their best sex ever at the time in their contacts.
Yeah.
So even though they're just having normal sex, but they're both looking
thinking about that moment.
Yeah, they're thinking about that initial moment. It's weird.
It could be with someone else too, right?
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Damn. That'd be, like, the most trippiest shit ever. Cause, like,
but it's not too far away.
So, like, I guess the disadvantage with that would be, let's say, if you did something wrong, or if you lost a loved one, the only way sometimes to get past missing a loved one is to kind of forget about them as time goes, right? Like, you move on by kind of not completely forgetting about them, but forgetting about them in a way that they don't exist on a day-to-day basis. Like, would it be harder for you if you always had your memories? Like, it would be probably hard to move on from things.
Oh, certainly.
Addictions, or you can just rewind back. And
but if you have free access, it's kind of like right now. Sometimes right now you can just get triggered without even being in control. But perhaps with that system, we can get to a point where you can't just get triggered by seeing something, but you can actually think about what you want to think about when you want to think about it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, people that might get obsessed of being in a relationship, right? Yeah. So the only way, like some broken relationship or someone passes away, the only way to move on from those tough scenarios is to let go and move on. Because like, people sometimes stalk people or just constantly looking at a certain image or video. But if you have a whole database of library of that person's memories, then you will always just get stuck there and never move on because you'll always just be thinking about the loved one that you might have lost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
With like past relationships, if you have them on Facebook, Facebook is like literally looking into someone's life these days. And when you have an ex or you break up with someone, you delete them off your Facebook because you don't want that. That's the first thing your friends are going to tell you is like, delete her off your Facebook, man, or delete him off your Facebook. So that life is out of your life because that's how crazy Facebook is now. Yeah.
So then you could do that with a recording device too, right? Because right now, if I'm sitting here and there's memories I want to forget, I can still try to forget them, but my brain is still separate from the recording, right? Or are we saying it's the same thing almost? And
well, no, it'll be a recording that you can access like a DVR. You know, that's what I'm thinking.
Right. But it is still separate from the mind and how I'm thinking of things and what I remember, what I don't.
Yeah, so you can definitely delete it.
Yeah.
So even if you can, but what I'm saying is someone that's obsessed and has some sort of disorder out of it won't delete it. They will just keep looking at it over and over again.
Right.
So the help that they really need is to delete it. But are they willing? If they're not willing to do that, then they'll always will be stuck on that.
So would your memories, just like on Facebook, and you can tag your image or you can untag yourself, would you be able to take yourself out of their lives? Like, okay, I shared these files, I have part ownership. If one of them deletes it, both of them lose that memory.
That happens in Black Mirror. Remember that?
Yeah.
You can actually block people. There was that one episode where you could block people and you wouldn't see them like they don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, so it's that John, whatever his name is, where everyone just turns red, so no one can ever see you. They just in that scenario of reality, they've evolved like content lenses.
Yeah,
I guess it's not even lenses at that point because they don't make you take it off. It's just the way you see the world now. Everything's just digital. So if I see you right now, I can just see data coming up, your height, your name, just generic information that you see like on Facebook. But if you do something in violation of the government's law or something, like a punishment is that they just if I'm seeing you now, you would just be outlined in completely red, and anytime you talk, I just hear like corrupted audio.
Yeah.
So no one can ever see you or hear you, so you just don't exist.
Right.
But you get to live.
Yeah.
You know,
it's pretty crazy.
You're just a red dude walking around.
That's like you're dead though, to the world.
Yeah, you're like a ghost in a sense.
Yeah, because it was working off the whole idea that, like we all know, that humans are very social species. Apes,
that's
right?
the worst.
Because what was the last thing that they did? John Hamm or that whole group put that one guy in like isolation.
Yeah.
And it was like eternity times 2 or 3, like something you can't even comprehend.
Yeah. And
he's just all alone. It's like the worst thing ever. You'd rather die, right?
Yeah, but they don't let him.
Yeah.
You guys you said something, and I just want to bring something up quick. You were mentioning AI a couple minutes back. Something insane happened. I don't know if you guys heard about this. You guys know about the game Dota 2, which is a very, very, very popular game, probably one of the most popular games.
Yeah.
It's a MOBA where you have like your army, and you'll be like a main hero character, and you'll control, or the army just keeps going, and you're like.
What's the most famous mobile version of that game?
Mobile?
Yeah.
I don't know about the mobile version.
I mean, there's games like those styles so people can understand what you're saying.
Tower defense? I think that's different.
Total War or
there's something, but doesn't. But what happened was, which is insane, is that Elon Musk created an AI, or his team or someone he funds his AI program created an AI to take on the best players in Dota. And what happened was it let itself play. It was just like a baby at first. It didn't know anything. It just told him that getting hurt is bad. Killing is good. It had like its parameters that it wanted
to win the game.
Give him some rules, and the AI, just like to become a pro player. Technically, the one guy says it takes about 12,000 hours to become pro.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they did was that this person that the AI is designed to play, or not designed to play against, gonna play against.
Yeah.
Has been playing this game for 8 years, and he got that good. This machine put in 12,000 hours because it was run in virtual boxes.
Yeah.
So there's like, I don't know how many, but hundreds of instances going at the same time, hundreds of games. So that's like if each game takes 5 minutes long, it's playing so many more. So it got, I think it was like 6 weeks or 6 months, but it got as good as this player because it beats him. It beats the best Dota player.
But you know, I mean, I don't find that surprising because, like, what are computers really good at? They're very good at following rules. So when you give it a rule like don't get hurt, it's gonna follow it so much better than the best human because, you know, there's so many other factors that come.
Yeah, I'm not that impressed by that either, actually. As you was telling the story, that's what I was thinking too. That's more like a calculator example.
Yeah, but it's still hard to generate. So it's still hard to code a computer to follow. So when you're telling computer to follow that, you're also giving it some sort of consciousness. So like it's
exactly.
not. It's a lot harder than it sounds.
I think of course, it's hard. I mean, I'm just saying how it felt. The most impressive part about that is they gave it like few parameters, like don't get hurt.
Yeah,
it's not like they coded in how to play. They just said don't get hurt.
Actually, also the other interesting part is like the cycles he was talking about, like the time,
playing
like
again and again.
What exactly is being learned and how.
So
that's an interesting part.
That part is.
Let me explain that real quick. Basically, so it's playing itself. And then eventually it, that starts playing people, and some people, like for a turn or something, would get the best of it, and right away learn that this is what happened last time. I don't want to do that, and it will change its strategy, and then it always wins.
So it's self-program itself.
It's
almost
programming. It's learning.
Like however.
So now just imagine how you as a person would code something like that. Like where do you begin? Like where do you tell a digital thing to act like a human?
Yeah, so you might
That's
have
fucking
like
hard.
it is crazy because you might have like thousands of lines of code for every behavior, right?
Yeah.
If another thing does this, do that,
it's creating
this
a
and
consciousness. Yeah. All you're doing is writing all if-then logic statement.
Right.
It's one question.
No, but I'm not saying it's not incredible. It's incredible. I'm saying it's not surprising that happens.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he said surprising.
No, you said it was not impressive.
Yeah, so relative to what I know about what else AI could do. Let me put it that way. Relative to the universe we live in.
No, it's still impressive because now think about what I'm saying. The question is don't die, right? So now you as a coder have to give insane amount of logic to it to say don't die. So it's one question backed by maybe thousands of pages of script. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that
I just mean to say like computers can be super hard. Like you can play a video game right now, and that game can be really hard. The computer can be programmed super well to understand all your moves, like you play on like let's say the hardest difficulty level, you go like ×2 of that, you probably won't beat the game, right? But it's a computer that's super smart. That's the kind of terms I was saying. But when you add in the fact that it's only a small parameter it gets, like just don't get hurt. It's just that one line. Let's say no.
But the coding behind that is insane. Do you get that part or no?
No, I definitely do. I think what he said is best. Where you said it's incredible, it's not surprising.
Yeah, like for example, you can. I
think that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, you can pick up like for example, you can pick up Street Fighter or Smash Brothers and play against the computer, right? And they also have all these built-in variables on how not to die.
Yes, that's what I meant. It's not surprising. I think is the right word.
So like but of course I know Dota is a much more complex game and it's playing against incredible players. It's like beyond even chess. The amount of options the AI
layers
has.
and all that shit.
Yeah, I don't really know. I've played Dota before, but
there's
it's all strategy based, right?
But what I guess the cool thing is that if you were programming a game, you would program the entirety of it. But I guess in this, they're saying they only program like the base fundamental, and it just grew by itself.
It learned
somehow.
itself to
That's
become that good.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely is cool.
We talked to. I don't think you guys were here, but in a podcast where there was some guy that did a similar thing with the Super Mario Brothers. He created an AI, and the goal the rules of the AI was you just learn from your past. So he just knows how to jump forward, up, down, right? So when he keeps jumping up, he realizes nothing happens, and he stops and he moves forward. If he moves forward and he hits those enemies, then he dies. So then he knows in X amount of steps I have to jump. Right, and then it just keep doing it. So it learns from his thing, repeats the same step. When it messes up, then it remembers it messed up. So it'll go, down instead of up or whatever. And the goal was to not lose the game. So he plays the game, and after X amount of while, where the computer gets really, really good, and it goes like 2-3 levels in. As soon as there's a point where it can never get right, where it has to make a jump, but he always falls. So at one point, since it couldn't figure out. At one point, it tried to make a jump, and it fell. And right before the game was supposed to be finished and die, it pauses the game. And that stays like that forever. So the goal is not to lose. So if if the AI thought if I pause the game, I haven't tried this strategy, I can't lose.
Wow. That's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Wow. So AI doesn't care for time.
Or, I mean, its purpose. The purpose is not to lose, and it found one. It's just to pause the game. you don't win or you don't lose. So it's either way. So like find out.
I feel like life's purpose has been a way to find out how not to die. You're always trying to, how do I keep my health good so I can live longer, this and that.
Right.
I wonder if there's a pause button.
But people don't think like that, do they? I mean, the normal person, like, if I ask you, what are you trying to do? I'm just trying to feel good and survive as long as I can. Nobody says that.
Man.
But I mean, health is everyone's main concern. If something hits their leg and it starts bleeding, or if you cut yourself, you freak out, right?
But usually it's like after the fact.
It's but there's like a lot of fat people. So,
man, like I think I say this a lot. I might have repeated it, but like it happens so frequently that it's like every time I walk, I hate that feeling of how normal this is to everyone. Like everyone just walking like this is just so fucking normal. Like everything that's here has been here and looks like this when that's not true. Like within, the early 1900s or the late 1800s, we didn't have we didn't have cars, airplanes, lifestyle was just so different. And then now we have food at every fucking corner.
Take it for granted.
So like I was thinking about the diet that you guys were talking about, and as I was walking to work, and I was just thinking like how that diet does make sense. What is called intermittent. What is it?
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fasting.
Yeah. Where it makes sense because it's like we as human beings are the first to access food like this fucking, the availability is this fucking crazy where you have 24 hours. There's Uber Eats where they fucking deliver food to your fucking house now. Like it's insane. Yeah. So like our bodies are not used to this shit and we're just living the lifestyle. We're the first pioneers of living this way. I mean, it changed in the early 1900s when, communities and cities were growing and there was more access to food. But at that time, if you think about it, like, it's like just dawns on me, like, we're just so used to of the microwave being here and the refrigerator being here. Just like 40, 50 years ago, that shit wasn't even here. Like, your food availability would just be so different. You wouldn't always have Coke on ice. Right. You wouldn't have fresh meat as it's just like your diet would just be completely different,
right? But I mean, for the everyday person, of course it is normal, right? Because they only know it relative to the moments they've lived, so they've never seen the other side. You're born into this, so there's nothing to compare it to.
So like sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the answer is like it's kind of obvious that intermittent fasting or not eating as often is more normal.
Down like this.
It is more like normal actually.
Yeah, that's right. Going into our biology, right?
Yeah, if you guys just I never thought about it when I was younger, but it seems so obvious now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for possibly over 100,000 years, we might have not known when our next meal would come, and we would just have one big meal, like maybe every 2-3 days. That was
or even weeks, maybe if you didn't hunt.
Dude, for a whole month, you could be good on one good meal.
Yeah, so now we need 3 meals a day. It's something that's been conditioned in. It's not necessary.
And snacks.
Yeah, snacks is the worst because you're not even conscious, right?
Yeah, that's the shit that you don't even need.
At least when you sit down and have lunch, dinner, breakfast, at least you're conscious what you're eating. With snacks is just random calories, which you don't need at all. Or not even thinking of it.
I mean, it's interesting thing how that the evolution of like just industries and farming and all that have just changed the way we consume our diets, and how much of that has to do with like the business agenda of these people saying, hey, we should normalize 3 meal periods a day, how much more money you would make just on selling just a basic milk, eggs, meat. Like
I got into this like a really deep New York Times article or something, or the Guardian article. It was an expose on cocoa. So nowadays what happens is like food companies know that the best way to market to you is through scientific research. So what they do is they fund studies. So there's all these studies funded that say cocoa is great for you and stuff. It turns out that those studies are actually funded by like the Mars company, the people that make like M&Ms and Twix and stuff.
Yes.
This is where it gets like extremely tricky, especially because you would hope that at least the government is on your side. Yeah. But then I don't know if you guys have been reading articles, but like the whole Food and Drug Administration has been just screwing all the Americans. Yeah. Like their recommendations are so bad. There's a lot of evidence that obesity and a lot of the health is a result of the recommended diet.
Yeah.
So grains. I mean, it's at the top, isn't it?
Dude, just I was just telling my mom today. She eats pape and chai. I'm like,
what is that for viewers that don't know?
It's basically like it's just like a biscuit. It's a kind of like a biscuit
with tea.
Yeah, with tea, and there's really no nutritional value to it.
It's all carbs, right? I think?
Yeah, so it's all carbs,
like
and then your tea
fried,
is what?
Fried bread, fried
milk,
bread,
dairy?
or
It's not really fried bread, is it? I don't know what.
So
why is it so hard?
What would a papa? Yeah.
Actually, that's not too bad. I'm gonna say that it's
not one. No, maybe 3 or 4. Even.
Oh, okay.
But there's no nutrition to it. Yeah, it could be okay to eat. It's not even like a calories in, calories out thing. It's not even about carbs. There's no actual benefit to it. Do you get what I'm saying?
No fiber.
Right.
Eating no fiber. It's not really giving your body anything.
However, I've been so. I kind of like to read research from like all the different sides and such. So recently, I've been reading a lot of research that shows that, of course, one thing that we all know is that not everyone is alike and not everyone's biology is the same. There are people that actually run better on carbs versus, for instance, going on a keto diet.
Yeah.
So even if you get into that, it won't work for you. You won't have the same energy just because of the way your body functions. So it's not like 100% you go on a keto diet, you're going to be good. Some people actually need the carbs, need different things. Like, for instance, I just did the veggie diet again. I did it for about 11 days. And this time I was so certain I was going to do it because I realized one thing. I realized that I didn't want it to be for a health reason, that I'm not going to just do this because I feel good. I should do it because it's the moral right thing to do.
You're talking about going vegan, right? Yeah,
going vegan. I thought it was the morally right thing to do. So I tried it for 10 days and it was going all right. Right. I was eating eggs because I kind of thought that eggs don't feel, so that's okay.
Right.
So I would eat all that. And then after 10 days, I think we went to play ball and I played so bad and I was like gassing out in the first game and I thought I was feeling great until I pushed myself.
The story gains entire context now after today.
Yes. So and today I was awesome and I've been eating all meat all week, but that's besides the point. But the unfortunate thing I realized was that I was so committed to being moral.
Yeah.
But as soon as I hit that roadblock where I'm like, damn, I can't compete. I'm like gassed out.
Yeah.
All right. And then it was back to being selfish.
Fish, right.
And I kind of had to
eat meat.
I ate meat and I kind of had to accept that I do have some evil in me.
Yeah.
That I really got to a point where I could clearly see what's the right thing to do.
Right.
And I still won't do it.
Right. And that's just not you. That's all of us. It's something that's inside us that's really hard to do, Like to you it could be ball, to someone it could just be the love of food, or availability or laziness or because I fight that battle every day, and it's hard. For me, like I want to stop eating it too for moral reasons. And
after watching Samsara,
it was a game changer. It just really opens your eyes. Like
terrifying.
The concept is kind of it's terrifying. The concept is even when you're eating meat. To me, it's always food. It's not a living thing that died. It's just weird.
Chicken burger. I don't see the chicken.
Yeah, you just see.
I see the burger.
Yeah, you see that this comes like this from day one. It came like a burger, meat's not a living thing.
The thing is, like, as awful and horrific factory farming is, and in no way do I condone it. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what better way is there to efficiently feed this many people?
Lab meat,
yeah.
But I was thinking, you can say lab meat. It's $100,000 or something for a burger.
It's coming down though.
But let's just say if it was done morally correct, where they treated the animals with care, respect, and love, it's still not right.
Hold on. I just want to go. Yeah, exactly. I just want to go back on that.
Okay,
what other way is there? We can just not eat meat, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to eat meat to survive. We can actually live without it.
There's going to be a consequence of us not eating. There's going to be animals killed because we don't eat meat, as counterintuitive as that sounds.
To me, that's justifying it. First let's take the moral step, right? We know what the moral step is, right? Or do we not?
That you really no way like around it. Life eats life. I just don't feel
that's what we believe, right? Well,
that's the code of nature.
What if we found out that plants had some kind of like sentience? Then we're fucked.
No, I think we kind of talked about this before, where we agreed that the code of nature is life is life. But now that you're more aware, or we're not, you got to take even the higher ground than nature does. If nature's saying it's okay, then we got to go around higher and say, no, fuck you, nature. It's not okay.
Yeah, why do we have to be defined by natural selection or evolution, even though we're a product of it? But why, we treat it like evolution is a good thing or something. like survival of the fittest is the good thing, that it's nature and we should just follow it. Perhaps we should take a moral high ground, maybe.
I'm just saying things will die regardless of you eating
but
meat
what's
or not.
Exactly, but what's the morally right thing to do?
So is it okay to eat meat that some other animal killed?
Well, I would say that it's not right to eat meat at all. Look, for the one thing that I think of is pain, right? Which animal can feel pain? We know that plants do not feel pain.
No, I'm
saying... They know they're being eaten,
There's
but they
an answer
don't give
to
a
that.
shit.
Like, I can use that analogy just instead of saying another animal is put a human. Is it okay for other human to be killing other human? We will agree that it's not.
I just don't think animals and humans are the same thing, though. I just don't go that far. I mean,
they're not, but the one thing in common would be that they are alive and they have feelings.
Right.
The only thing is,
they can feel pain. So you can have another alien species land here, and we could be the cattle for them. Then we should be okay with that happening. Would we call them evil?
Yeah. So I guess
then
my
we're
point
also evil.
I just don't think it's evil, but I do agree we should eat less. Like we should encourage to grow our own meat and stuff. We should try to, or at least to grow our own vegetables. Be more in tune with our environment.
So let's say if I had a lab, right, and I put a human being in there and we can scan their brain activity where we already know this, but I don't know this, but there's parts of the areas where you can measure where pain is. So if you pinch someone's nails or something, they're part of, so now we put
like an fMRI.
There are scanners. I don't know what they're called, but I know we can do this. So let's say we do one with human and we do one with a goat, let's just say, and we pinch them the same amount. If the activity of a brain pain level is the same, at what point are you saying is this evil and this one's not? Like, why is it okay for this one to feel pain, but since this one's human and I relate to it, this is not evil? So in terms of pain, if you measure like that, does that change your perception?
I just don't think humans and like a goat are the same thing just because they feel the same amount of pain.
I know they're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing, but
goat is human. There's two different things.
So I do have a rule for this. The more sentient the life is, the more intelligent they are, the less we should eat them.
So the more they're like human, basically, because
you have to set some kind of standard, right?
Well, we're defining sentient by being human.
But you already are defining it for plants.
Yeah, but we're going by pain, though, right?
So you're setting a standard. I'm setting a standard. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So if
there
was pain,
what I'm
so
saying is
how
that
would you
plants are probably the best option,
right?
And then
how would you measure?
Just go.
How would you measure a plant feels pain? How would you measure that?
How would you measure sentience or intelligence?
So I mean, we think we all agree that apes are pretty intelligent. Like octopuses are more intelligent than, let's say,
we eat octopus, by the way.
Yeah, I mean we're not perfect. I don't agree with that either. But let's say dolphins are more.
So how would you
probably the fact that they could communicate, they have different dialects. I mean, it's a hard question. I'm just trying to give the best.
What I'm wondering is, in ethics and moral, should intelligence be the question, or should it be something else?
So here, take one step further. Right now, a million years into the future, now we're this galactic colony, right? And we've discovered different lives and so forth. So, do you still eat other things based not on pain, but so if you go to a world and they can't communicate with you, so does it make since they're alive, we just got to eat them too?
Yeah, I'd rather not eat anything. Let me start over there, because I think the way I'm starting the conversation seems like I'm trying to find reasons to eat. Ideally I wouldn't like to eat anything, especially when they're sentient. But I also don't like that hippy-dippy logic, because animals still eat other animals, right? No one's ever talking about, hey, let's figure out.
Yeah, but the idea is that we need to go beyond that. That's the whole point, that we're going beyond the animals, going beyond our human evolution and all biology.
So how beyond can we go? Could we take a lion and force it to go to jail because it ate a gazelle? I'm asking actually.
But
so how much could we
I think
actually...
we're talking about us
as human beings.
Yeah,
what we can control. What we can control. So for me, I know I can't control a lion, but I know it will suffer in pain if I shoot it.
Like if Ali's going to go rob a bank, am I going to go with him?
Right.
Okay, for example, some hunters, what they do is they kill, they actually get tags to kill, let's say there's a bear, right? There's a bear that's old, it's dominant, it's eating the cubs of other bears.
Yeah.
So they'll go and they'll kill that bear. So they'll buy a tag. So kill that bear. That actually being more ethical by killing that bear.
Which would make sense. You should, if someone thinks
they would eat it.
This reminds me of a really good short story that I heard the other day, where it's a story about a guy who wants to kill his neighbor because he knows if the neighbor dies, he just has this psychopathic tendency, and he will feel great if he does it. So now he spends the whole month trying to convince himself this is the right thing to do, because the neighbor has a daughter. and that neighbor uses a daughter almost as a slave, doesn't let her go out, nothing, just has her do home duties and all that, and has a pet dog that he doesn't feed, just like a bunch of negative things. And he convinces himself that this is the morally right thing to do, to kill his neighbor, because it would help all these people. But really why he's doing it is because he's a psychopath.
Right.
And he does it. So he does the killing, and that's how the story ends.
Damn.
But
he was probably feeling his need more than the other.
Exactly, but he's using other reasons for it.
It's like Dexter.
Yes, exactly.
In a sense, right?
Yeah.
He needs a good reason to do something.
Yeah, he loved killing, so he only killed the people that he thought were
killing
not in his moral compass of being good things. So in that example, then you would shoot that bear and save the other bears. So
I don't know. To me, it comes down to, like, for instance, this is just my opinion.
Yeah,
I think it's correct. But when you eat meat,
I think it's correct.
You have to be. I eat meat, right?
Right.
So, but you have to accept that there's a bit of evil in all of us.
Yeah.
That we're not this Jesus-like character. No, I know nobody's saying that either.
Right.
But
I definitely agree with that. We're definitely a lot more evil than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't acknowledge that part in us. You know, there's in all of us there's this little darkness. You know, we all have it. Some have it tenfold. Some have it like 1%, whatever.
I feel like,
but it all exists inside us. Our inner demons, right?
Yeah, me and Ali have spoken about it as I've gotten older, especially just because of random experiences I've gone through. I always thought that certain people, because of ethical codes and stuff like that, couldn't be a certain way. You know what I mean? I was like, there's no way that their moral compass would allow them to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. You find out that people are pretty evil, actually.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, not eating meat. People will fuck over other people. Yeah.
Westworld, man.
Westworld type shit. Yeah.
If you take the consequences away, it would be so dangerous to go outside. You know, like if there was a consequences of just raping someone, killing someone, robbing someone, it'd just be terrifying. It'd be just a shit show, you know. And that's what it was back then. That's why religion came in play. We created a common ground, created rules to follow. And then we created this society and communities, and it's just weird. Like at any time, like you know, we go out the door, we're having faith in humanity to take care of us. Mm-hmm. You know, like for me, I think I've talked about it in private. I'm not sure on the podcast yet, but like every time I open the door going to work, you know, especially with the shit that's going around the world with all these fucking random acts of violence, you know, you always have faith that the world is mostly good and it's going to take care of you and you're going to take care of them.
Right.
And that's, you know, how we should all open our doors and walk out each day. Because, like, even today, like, after that fucking New York incident where the guy just rammed people in the car, and as I was going down to the subway, it's just a swamp of people, man. It's like, shit, look, how many people here just actively not communicating, but actively participating in this ethic and moral system where nobody's pushing one another. No one's going to pull out a gun if a fight starts. You know, it just, we all are there sharing a common ground, all trying to get to our end destination. And then, you know, I trust all these people in a sense. That's why I'm here. You know, but not too much where I do. When you see someone, you act on your intuitions, and if something seems off right, move out of the way. Yeah. You know, do use your subconscious to go through it. But overall, the world is good, you know?
Just for a quick imagery, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie The Purge, and how, like, on one day every year, they're allowed to do whatever they want. There are no laws. So everyone wears, like, masks and stuff like that. They board up their house, get guns, and like all the rich get to stay in their house and they're untouchable.
It's terrifying, dude.
Yeah, there was a Rick and Morty episode on that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, I often wonder what came first. Like people being conscientious about what they're doing, what is right and wrong. Was that there before religion? Was that like this idea of justice and this idea of right and wrong? Was that there before religion? Yeah. Because there's a viewpoint that Jordan Peterson has, and he believes that there was no justice and this whole idea of what's right and wrong before religion came. Mm-hmm. Because you could, like, for instance, you could have a system or like a tribe, right, and it could have its rules, right?
Right.
But if you didn't get caught, you could get away with something.
Right.
However, if you believed in the transcendent, something beyond, like, law, beyond law order, beyond everything else, right? Something else then you become conscientious. Like, you think about these things. Like, even if you get away with it, you're still feeling guilty yourself.
Because God's
like,
always
you feel,
watching.
yeah, you feel like you did something wrong because something is watching, something beyond. And he says that that's where the whole thing came from. And he believes that if we take away, we think if we take away religion, everything will be okay. But he thinks if you take the foundation away, how can that block stay floating in midair without its foundation? So he doesn't think.
Sam Harris has an answer for that, and I forgot.
Yeah, he doesn't agree with Sam Harris.
Yeah, and Sam Harris doesn't obviously agree
of
with
course. They both don't like each other.
No, they do. They get along.
I think they do, but I feel like Sam Harris got really... So, like, Jordan Peterson, I listen to him a lot, and he sounds really cool, and he ties everything into religion, and, he makes so much sense. But when you talk to somebody like Sam Harris, who can kind of, like, go point for point, and he can really, like, nail down his like, argument and try to understand it,
yes,
Jordan Peterson really struggles.
Well, I think the reason why he struggles is, we've all done mushrooms and all that, so... The thing that he gets into, it's beyond comprehension, in my opinion. He's trying to understand things that perhaps we're not meant to understand. That's the sense I get every time I listen to him, and that's why he struggles to kind of get it out there.
Across.
But there is a strange thing. Now it could be just me, but you get like this feeling, like a connection through feeling. It's hard to explain, but you get that when you listen to him.
No. I mean, I get that. I want to say I do get it, but I'm not sure to what extent. But like on Sam Harris level, like I would say he's probably the same there for me. Like when I listen to him, like it's always mind blowing shit.
Right.
But yeah, so, I mean, for me now, Sam Harris has become more of like an informative like person where he brings on educated, guests, and then they go back and forth. So I don't hear Peterson
Jordan
as much.
Peterson doesn't really do that. He just goes on other people's shows.
Yeah.
And usually those people are not as smart as he is.
So I don't know how much.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, now that I think about it.
Like, are his ideas being tested?
And there's two main differences that I would say Sam Harris would classify himself as leaning liberal.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson would classify himself as leaning more conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I haven't seen him in now I'm thinking about it more like. You do see him talking to a lot of people, but he's
not
ideas
talking
being
to the most
tested?
intelligent people. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Sam Harris basically tests his intelligence with some of the smartest people on like certain topics, and he goes toe to toe with them.
But nonetheless, he's awesome.
Yeah, they both are.
Yeah.
I feel like he's really good for younger kids and people who are a little bit lost in their lives. Like Sam Harris is probably not for that.
There's some
he's
cool,
more for like the intellectual.
Right.
There's some really cool lectures on Peterson. Someone recorded in his college. I like to listen to him every time the recommendation comes up on YouTube. But just him explaining concept of life.
Yeah.
Using like cartoons as analogies and telling how that how this child becomes a hero, and just using references in everyday life. Like, whoa, this guy is woke as fuck, dude.
I just listened to
insane, like,
his podcast with Jocko Willink. It's like 3.5 hours long. It's a long ass one, and they're both conservative too. And it was pretty crazy. He was saying that his first line to people that say they want to change the world, he's like, why don't you go clean your room first? He's like, just clean your room. Like, if you can do that, then we'll talk about trying to change the world.
But one thing that I haven't heard him say, like Sam was, like Sam Harris is more for that human progress. How can he intellectually help guide humanity to that way? And I don't hear that much. I hear him as Peterson talking more about our history and understanding, that and how it affects us and how we are in this civilization, and everything pretty much, he ties in everything that's happening now, which is phenomenal. But like, I don't see him talking more about the future and the human progress. He talks
about it in this podcast, actually. Okay. That's funny because I was thinking that too. And this podcast, he finally talks about like artificial intelligence.
Because if you're conservative, you don't care about the future because you do to an extent. I mean, I'm not trying to misrepresent that whole concept, but I think from my understanding is this matters now.
Yeah.
So like, you don't want to. Why should I help out someone else? Everyone's got to go do their fair share. And then, why should I pay for this? Why should human progress needs certain things funded regardless of who's putting effort into it. And that would be, deep space understanding. I'm guessing, obviously, and I'm sure now I'm just misrepresenting an idea, but But like what I'm thinking is there are a lot of conservatives that would agree with that concept or idea too. But I don't know. Just overall human progress. I don't hear him talk.
Well, Jordan
about
Peterson's
that
definitely
much.
not an average conservative either, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty different. But also, I think the difference between him and Sam Harris is Sam Harris, you're right, he's more about the entirety of humanity moving forward, while Jordan Peterson is more about the hero, the one individual that rises and just kind of leads humanity forward.
Right.
That's the kind of sense you get. And he kind of wants, like, he's mostly preaching like every individual should reach their maximum potential.
Right.
Because that's how we move forward faster.
That's damn yeah.
And
So
Sam
you-
Harris is more educational too. Like
Yeah.
he'll explain really complicated concepts to you.
Oh yeah,
That's
no
one
doubt.
of his strengths. Like he'll take like the most complicated thing and then he'll try to
Make it
explain
easier
to you in
to-
a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Peterson, whereas I always find myself like not struggling, but it is like you got to really pay attention. Like if you miss like 10 words, and you can
Yeah.
be completely lost, like where you
Right.
went with it.
Yeah.
You know, like he uses a lot of big words and like a lot of just big subjects that he covers in such a complex way that you can't miss a bit out. So you always got to be tuned in, otherwise you get tuned out.
Yeah. I think he's also the reason why he
Yeah,
brings up
knocked
the reason why he brings up history a lot too, because he's like a real believer that there is basically knowledge everywhere, and that there is stuff, like we know a lot of things today, but there's a lot of things we've also forgotten.
Right.
And there was a reason why we did some things in the past, and he thinks that they should not be forgotten. But the way we read the Bible, the Quran, whatever religious text you want to read,
Right.
don't just read it,
Right.
but go beyond the words and meanings and see if it can be updated and still be useful today. Don't just throw it away.
Yeah.
You know, take what you can,
Right.
you know, from anywhere.
Right.
You know, I think that's what he's a lot about.
But but some of that can backfire, and then if you want to update it and say, okay, you know, we got to clean the Jews out, you know, like
Yeah.
that. So now, like, how updated do you want to take it?
Yeah.
You know, but I guess his updated version will be just to take, not to apply it literally in the world, but to take like the good ideas and intentions and up it, so like we as a whole humanity collectively, you know, move forward.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know, like, just from our experience, we know how, I think we've kind of seen how important your mindset can be with things, right? We kind of
Right.
talked about it earlier. And what he's really good at is changing mindsets.
Right.
You know, and I think because somebody can throw all the facts at you, right? Like,
Right.
you can throw the facts at somebody who doesn't really want to listen to it. You can throw all the facts. That won't change their mind. But if you give them these, I don't know, if you can make them feel a certain way, right?
Right.
That can change their mind. And that's been proven. Like,
Yeah.
like you can find statistics on that people are more changed by how they feel rather than cold, hard facts.
Right. Especially
I-
when they're wrong and the
Yes.
fact are against them.
Right. So I think we need both of them, of course. Sam
Yeah.
Harris is amazing, and Jordan Peterson's amazing because he uses a different side
Hell,
to get people to.
We need like
get
a
somewhere.
million each in the world talking right now, I think. You know?
Yeah.
We could use both of them. Both of them are awesome. If people don't know of them, they should check out Sam Harris' podcast called Waking Up.
Yeah.
And George Peterson, I don't think he has one, but he does have a YouTube channel.
I
Where he
think,
has,
I think he has a podcast too now.
He does now? Yeah.
Yeah.
But his YouTube channel has his bunch of lectures from his school where he's just lecturing kids on his class, and it's recorded, and a lot of that is just on free. It's
Yeah.
2 hours long and stuff like that.
It's great stuff.
But now I was just thinking about you know, Paul Stamets being on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Right.
He just talked about that podcast alone was amazing, that everyone should listen to.
Yeah. Why was it so short? Because usually it's 3 hours. That was only like 2, I think.
Yeah, but I think they ended it. Joe Rogan came to a part where he felt like if this ended here, he says that, right? Like this should end here now.
You remember that?
Because his story was
his story.
yeah, which is fucking nuts.
Which
But
is
before we get into
interesting.
that, like
No, I think it's because his friends were coming in. He did a
that's
podcast
true.
right after.
Yeah, sure.
So his
Schaefer,
friends were like
whatever.
waiting.
Ari Schaefer came. Yeah,
Bill Chrysler,
Whatever
Ari
their names are.
Shafir,
yeah. But anyway, like what I was thinking was, so Paul
Tom
Stamets
Segura.
has been doing like he's into mycology, so that's a study of fungi and mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been doing this, I guess. Yeah, he's a hippie, right? So he's from the 70s and shit. Whose phone is that? Husband, on your phone's it's going off. What's it called? But yeah, so in that I've seen a lot of his lectures before, because when I've heard of him in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
We even watched one of his videos from early 90s, like really shitty quality with bad audio, and we were watching that in my house. But back then he was really young, so I don't know if you remember that
no,
one.
I don't remember. No.
But he was just in that episode. So back then he was seen as people were really skeptical of him because that was just new research and stuff like that. So he was considered like a pseudoscience scientist. But in that he's talking about like mushrooms in the earlier civilizations and how they played a role in how we progressed and humanity and so forth, and spirituality and religion. How some of that stuff came out of that. And then he was talking about the benefits of it. And then I seen his other tech talks and lectures. And when he came on Joe Rogan, he pretty much just connected everything that he said and everything else that I've heard, but just in one jam-packed, actually mind-blowing thing.
It's really good.
Yeah. So one of the things that he talks about how the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and how the single-cell organism the first living things were mushrooms. I forgot where I've seen it. It's one of those documentaries, either Planet Earth or Cosmos, or one of those things where, not Cosmos, but I forgot what documentary was it. But I think it was Life. Could be wrong. But anyway, they talk about the first life form on Earth. The oldest fossil is a mushroom, and I think it's the size of a tree. If Hasban gets back, he can just confirm that. It
was a tree?
No, it was the size of a tree.
Oh, the first mushroom.
Yeah.
The fossil that they found, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if you, it's dated, much older than any other life. Yeah.
Some billion, right?
Yeah, it was like 2 billion years old.
Yeah, it's the oldest fossil that we have, and it's of a mushroom.
Because life started, 3.8 billion? If Earth is 4.5, right? It was just under a billion years.
Yeah, Earth is 4-point-something billion years, and then life is like 2 or 3 billion
years old.
3, I think.
But the first single cell stuff was like 3.8?
Yeah, look it up. But nonetheless, what I was thinking of, there's a huge, insane time gap. But the first life form was mushrooms, and then we evolved and left that line, and we became our own. We evolved into our own
3.5 billion years.
Yeah. And what's the oldest?
That's like microbes, and I think
microbes, right? But mushroom was
like 2-point-something billion.
Yeah,
I
it
still
comes
remember
after.
that from the podcast.
That's why when you play like No Man's Sky, or if you see other space movies, anything, when they land into a first planet that might have life, they have these giant mushrooms everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's how big mushrooms used to grow in our planet. And it was just like he said, like single cell organism maybe turning into microbes, and they're forming some different forms of bacteria and turn into fungi, and then fungi is just a underground network of mycelium that grows into mushrooms. But what's interesting is I was trying to play that process in my head and forward. I was just every little thing that I've heard, I was trying to just imagine that thought. The recipe to life, or human life, is the universe in this condition, in this planet, in this what's that Goldilocks zone, with this time frame, with this atmosphere. You have to get everything down to a T, and then you let it cook, and then out of that, boom, Sprite jumps out consciousness, living things that can think and ponder and look at you and maybe one day understand you. So does that recipe alone is just so fucking mind-blowing. If you just fast forward and then out comes you, and you're thinking about fast forwarding that your past history, it's just phenomenal. So the universe is coded this way. So what I was thinking was, is this the only way to bring consciousness about in this reality, or is there other? I mean, there could be other planets that have different things, and life still comes out. But at what Earth accomplished, where a consciousness is aware and thinking and reacting and manipulating its environment, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And obviously there could be higher level of consciousness, but they all have to. Do they all have to start the way we did? Do they all have to evolve the way we did?
Right.
If it doesn't, then does that mean there is no other consciousness out there? Or there could be if everything is replicated exactly somewhere else. But do you need these exact same conditions to bring out consciousness?
Well, it seems like on Earth, we know the answer, yes, right?
Yeah.
Because on Earth, for a long time, they've been looking for like a second genesis, right? On Earth, like has life started from a different branch anywhere on Earth? No, but it's all from the same seed, from the same beginning.
Yeah.
So life started on Earth only once.
Right.
Now the rest of the universe, I have no. Well, there's that one thing that Neil deGrasse Tyson says that I love. He's like, it's like going by the ocean with a fishing net and just picking up water and feeling like there's no fish in the sea.
Yeah.
So I guess that's that stage we're at. So it's really hard to say either way.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
mathematically, it would be ridiculous if this is the only way to
do
start
it.
life. Would be.
I'm pretty certain, or there's a probability of certainty that I can say there is life out there, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I was just really thinking about it, and it was really like mind-bending. Does life always has to start this way? If the universe is just completely dark, full of stars and planets, so I can, from that logic, then everything else life would have to start in some sort of planet, right? With these same conditions. Otherwise, if consciousness cannot stay alive or aware, then it's not really conscious. So it needs certain conditions to be aware.
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, we know that it took us a long time to kind of reach this point, right?
Right.
And it's been a long process. So every year that goes by is another, like, thousands of different things that could have gone wrong. We could have been hit with a meteor. There could have been however many great filters.
So that's a recipe too. The meteor hitting Earth is a recipe
Bringing
of our
water.
consciousness of being this aware, because dinosaur would have roamed, and us primates or monkeys, whatever, we would not have had that opportunity to thrive and become we're in top of the food chain now. You know,
this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that one incident with that meteor.
Yeah,
and
it's like a chef throwing salt. You know, like,
and even that meteor, how likely was it that it like, I mean, space is infinite, right? And this thing is going at this really thin thread of a line through universe, and it happens to hit us.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there's a gazillion other factors like that. So, like, think about it this way: we're one plague away from wiping all of us out. Like one virus evolving, because the thing of the rule is reproduce. Everything has to reproduce or it doesn't survive. So there's certain that's why we take vaccines, is because there's viruses that are evolving, finding ways to keep reproducing, and the way they have to keep reproducing are the ones that are genetically, what's it called, where they're not the same. I'm losing the term. But they're defective. So, like, even though it's a virus, it's a defective form, but that one is the one that survives. So that one reproduces. Mutation, there we go. So the ones that mutate are the ones that are just freak accidents that, you know, it's a probability. I keep doing this, and one fucks up, and this is the one that fucks up is the one that, you know, turns into AIDS or evolves into AIDS. You know, now it's consuming us humans. So when it consumes you, its goal is to go into the host, reproduce, and we're doing the same thing as human beings. It's just, the rule is reproduce. And
it's who's weird. Controlling that? What's funny is that, you know, just listening to that last podcast with Joe Rogan, and I forgot the guy's name again, but husband knows. And they're talking about the gut biome again, and there's a theory that we're just carriers, because there's so much more of this gut bacterium and other, like, bacteria and whatnot, and it actually outnumbers your cells. So it's like, are we just carriers? You know?
And then I think
it's controlling us.
I think he talked about how your stomach is not actually a part of you or something. Do you remember that part?
Because it's just a tunnel from your mouth to your anus. Basically, it's just a tunnel. So it's like you're being controlled from the outside.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, when you think about it, when you think about it that way, it's like it's actually not a part of you in that way. It's literally just a tunnel going through you.
It's a void.
Yeah, it's just a void in you. There's stuff in there that
makes you want to act just to make it happy.
I never thought about it that way.
It kind of, that was a mind fuck too when he explained it.
Jesus.
Wow. And what do you want to call intelligent? What do you want to call consciousness? Because this gut bacteria and whatnot, you know, all acts together to make sure it survives. You guys have heard of the bacterium Toxoplasma? That basically is a bacteria that gets into rats. And it makes the rats like not afraid of cats, basically. So it will actually get sexually motivated to go towards cat piss, which obviously cats eat mice, but it would go towards it just because of this bacterium. Because this bacterium, once it gets eaten by the cat, this bacterium can only reproduce in the gut of a cat.
That's insane.
So it controls a mice to get to where it needs to get to reproduce. So I mean,
it's kind of like so in the Paul Stamets thing, like what he talked about, like, so those who don't know what mycelium is, it's what the mushroom is fungus. That's what the mushroom grows out of. And what he was saying is,
so what mycelium is like the seed, almost
the white cloud.
The spores would be the seed. The mycelium would be a network of fungus, and it's just these little molecules that connect. They look like spider web almost, and they connect to one another. And what he was saying is that they all are aware and they communicate. So I think it's in Oregon where the largest living organism in the world is a fungus, and it covers
the honey one, right? The honey fungus?
No, that would be a mushroom. I think all mice
honey mushroom or something.
Yeah, but the mycelium would be the same, but I guess there's different strains of it, and it covers the whole forest. And in his other lectures, from what he explains, is that if there's a tree, there could be a network of the network of mycelium, which is like a spider web, covers all of the forest floor. And they're connected, and they all are aware. So if someone walks over in one of them, they all, in a sense, know that someone's there. They're all communicate amongst one another. So if there's a tree by itself, and if it rains, if it uses up all the water in the soil, the mycelium can go take the water from the other side and transfer it over to their network to the tree, and in return, the tree gives them, I think it was sugar. And they feed off that, and that's the resources that they get to continue reproducing and growing. Well, the way they would reproduce is then when the sunlight hits the floor, then the mycelium, sprouts out into a mushroom, and the mushroom caps open and spreads a spore, and the wind takes it and travels it, and then it constantly just reproduces everywhere.
Real quick, that one mushroom you were talking about, the honey mushroom, it is about estimated to be 2,400 years old. And it covers 2,200 acres.
Yeah, so that's the mycelium network. It's in Oregon, right, or something?
Yeah, it's in Oregon.
Oregon, right? Yeah, which is insane. That's the largest living organism that we know of. And what's so cool about that is he was saying mushrooms are so smart that, like the honeybee story that he was talking about, where the bears, why they were shooting bears that scratched the trees, is because when the tree has some sort of opening, then the spores will enter and infect the tree. And what they do is they start decomposing the tree down. It gets weak, the leaves fall off, the tree collapses. And if it collapses, then that means the light could come hit the forest floor. Mm-hmm. The forest floor, then that means that the mycelium can get the light that it needs to get its source of energy so it can grow. So in that way, it would just destroy trees to let light in. So then the ants and every other ecosystem would thrive on it. So it had like a symbiotic relationship with the forest, with the mind blade.
They say that it's the architect. It's
the architect of nature. So mushrooms designed our nature, like how we design cities and communities and stuff like that. So mycelium, what he's saying, has been architecting the world, and it is the forest and nature. It is the way it is because of them, because they were the first life forms, and it's just mind-boggling that we evolved from them.
That's just what's really crazy is that if this fossil of a fully grown mushroom was found and it's like 2.2 billion years old, then it's evolved all the way up to what it is 2.2 billion years ago. I mean, how long has it been for us to reach our stage?
What's crazy is that he's like, shoot, my mic got cut off a little bit, but their whole purpose is to since their purpose is to reproduce, they go into it's so lent to, like, like you're saying, architect the nature, and the whole purpose is if the nature is thriving, and it's like a symbiotic relationship. When the nature thrives, they thrive, and therefore they can reproduce. If the nature is not thriving, then the odds of them surviving goes away. So they did their best to make the world, what it is now.
It got kind of kooky too, and I would love to hear more, or to read more about this. In fact, I kept thinking about that leading up to this podcast. Like, he was saying that even when you walk on
mushroom
soil,
the mycelium would know.
Yeah, so it's like a big brain everywhere. Anytime you walk on soil.
Yeah.
You're actually stimulating it.
There's a picture. So in that trailer that he said his documentary is coming, he walks over and they show like they show the way how it reacts. It squeezes and it opens up and then it reacts.
knows. Yeah.
It reacts.
It's like if someone took a pen to you and poked you a tiny bit. So it can actually feel that, and it architects according to how much it feels.
And if they know a certain area is not doing good, then the other side will know and will send resources down that way. You know,
that's just crazy.
It knows that it needs to.
And then there's also like other little organisms that help it.
Yeah.
By keeping bacteria away. But then again, our like human bodies also do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
I was saying like with that when that whole tree thing that he was selling, then other animals will come feed off it, like whatever. So that when the tree collapses, there'll be insects and bugs. So there'll be other. So it just creates a whole ecosystem. There'll be other creatures that eat the insects. There's other deers or whatever will come eat whatever. Now there's more sunlight, so there'll be more grain on the floor. They can come eat that, and then in return they'll poop, and that poop is a resource for the mycelium to decompose and grow mushrooms, and the mushrooms grow out of the poop, because like the poop has like the resources for the fungus to take all the nutrition and just grow a mushroom out. That's why that Terence McKenna, what's that stone ape theory, where he says they would out of a cow dung they would eat the shrooms, and that's how we became more conscious. So mushrooms grow a lot in dungs and whatnot. So once they will grow in. And then the mushrooms caps open, drops spores, releases the range is insane. I forgot what it is, but like the wind just takes the spores and spreads it all over the forest. Now it's just manipulating everything and reproducing such a grand scale.
Now, this can't be a coincidence, right? That when people take mushrooms, they tend to care more for nature.
Yeah.
And these things. Because they were talking about like, the difficult thing would be how would you communicate with mushrooms?
Yeah.
Maybe you just eat them and then they talk to you in a way.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're guiding us in a certain way that's not only good for nature, but for their own self-interest in a way.
Yeah.
Like, to keep their network going, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it's strange that everyone has very similar nature-oriented thoughts on trips.
Right. No, that's a good connection. And what's cool is how he talks about, how we have like our internet. So he talks about different networks. So you have the internet network, the mycelium network,
and the neural network.
Yeah, your brain neural network, and then that's the ice machine going.
Yeah.
You have your neural network.
So scared.
And then the dark matter or the cosmic network.
Sure.
So he's like, there's all these patterns that exist, and within those patterns, if one is able to communicate with the other, or if you're able to be all at the moment, or can you get these networks to communicate with one another, and would that be a leap forward into a different network?
I think all these networks are just layers, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at your neural network in your brain and you see that pattern in the way it all is, and you shoot out into space and look at stars and the way all that is, and it looks similar. And you can even before the stars, when we were flying out to Denver, and I looked over and I saw Chicago, and it was just a huge city grid and it looked like the internet.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
it looks like a computer chip from all the way up there.
Right.
So it's just different layers of networks. These roads, these streets, these are all different parts of networks. You travel through that network to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And then the internet's even closer. You got to go through this website, click this link to get to this web page. These are all different networks, and they're all different layers.
And this all feeds back to the same thing that we've talked about, that everything leads to complexity. What do networks do when they connect? They
complex.
They make whatever the thing was more complex than it was before.
Right.
If it's just you and me, and if we're connected, then we're going to be more complex. We're going to have more complex thoughts. We will be able to do more.
Yeah.
That's how it is with every organism almost.
So as soon as we start communicating, then our brain does get more complex. Because now you're
double the power. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that. Now, if you said an idea or ideology that does not fit with me or agree with me, now I have to comprehend it and respond. So now your brain network is just taking a new step forward that it didn't have before. It's communicating, rebuttaling a thought, or agreeing, or being emotional to a thought that someone else is sharing. So you're
growing,
right. It just gets complex.
Essentially growing.
Yeah.
You have a network of thoughts now, and these thoughts are combining to lead to other thoughts, and it's a network everywhere. Whenever you deal with
2 brains, 4 brains, 6, and get smarter and smarter.
So what's weird is if our neural network of all human beings could get connected to one it is to a grid, right? Or
a hive mentality.
No, it is art.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, you can never get it to a point where all networks would agree, I think, because that's like a flawed in, well, maybe the flawed of human beings, because since we're not that connected, that's why there's that gap. But maybe if we were, that we will all be just connected and be on the same page and have the same feelings and passion and love, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I just changed my thought.
I mean, but however,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. However, like if there is a network, and like, how do we know? Okay, we can say that it might not agree or, on everything, but is the network reaching something that we can't see? Like, is it working towards something?
Right.
Like, for instance, you talked about the mycelium network.
Right.
What is it working towards?
Reproducing,
right?
Right.
So whether, I don't know, if each spore, what would you say, each part of the network, even if it disagreed with each other, would it still get to reproduce somehow?
It won't be as beneficial, right? So if there's part of, let's say, the mycelium at the end of the forest that doesn't want to communicate, so they'll just die off. They won't get the resources of food to continue to reproduce. Even though they want to reproduce, they will just die off. So it makes sense for everyone to remain connected, right?
Right.
And I think that's so symbolic of just human beings, just thinking now how connected we're not with one another. We have these differences, we have these borders, we have these skin colors that are we're in the same network, but we don't agree with those things.
We make too many distinctions.
Yeah, and I think the part is because we're just not connected. And when you are connected, like, when you're in a city, you're with more diverse people, so you're connected more to humanity than, a person living in a farm or a small suburb or whatnot. You have different ideologies, different thoughts, music, style, food, that all changes your perception, so you get connected and you thrive. So I think this is unique that cities thrive, right? Because you have more talented people, different, cultures of people thinking, combining ideas and taking it tenfold.
Yeah.
You have different backgrounds and all of that, but for us to all be one and take away all these distinctions that we make, you would have to basically destroy the concept of self. What makes you has to go away.
Yeah,
ego has to go away. We're all one. You delete the me and I's and replace them with we and us.
Yeah.
And, it's okay. So for survivability, why are these mushrooms killing off trees and trying to grow?
Right.
It wants to reproduce because it wants to survive, and that's the end goal.
Yeah.
So if we were like AI, you make the parameter, you need to survive, we need to reproduce.
Yeah.
And it's innate, and it's in our nature to want to reproduce. You have all these, you see a woman or a man or whatever, and you're like, okay, that's attractive to you,
right?
Because at the end of the day, it's all survivability.
Yeah, it's that part of the then comparison you were making with mycelium and being connected. I had this great thought. I just lost it. Can you just repeat it one more? The last 1 second that you said about the never mind, if you forgot it, just move on. It might come back to me.
Let's stop the podcast, repeat it, and then
rewind it and come back.
Damn, I had a thought as I was getting ready to say.
I mean, our the human network doing that right now without us even seeing it? Are there groups that are saying, all right, our goal is like mushrooms just to reproduce.
Yeah.
So let's make it best for everyone to be able to reproduce and have kids and pass our genes forward and keep surviving.
Right.
And is there a group that is saying no to that?
I mean, there is.
Not
I would
just
say.
saying it, but is that what it's leading to? In a way.
Yeah. And I think, what I was gonna say is that we don't have a symbiotic relationship with the world as much as we should have it. We're not connected with nature. Like the mycelium network is connected wherever it's at, is connected with this environment, and its goal is to survive, but it also make the environment survive, because without the environment, it no longer exists either. So that understanding of a fucking thing is brilliant, but we humans don't have that connection. We're just thinking about us and fuck the environment.
Right.
And, there is no such thing as climate change, or because of my party doesn't say it, it's just so weird. Like, we lost that connection, and we're just so me, and selfish, right? That sooner or later, that's going to be the end result of us. And it is.
We go and cut trees down to make paper,
toilet papers to wipe your ass.
Yeah, but what are we giving back to the trees? You know what I mean? It's just we're killing them off. We're not making the environment any better.
it's like the Native Americans, like when they would hunt or whatever they use in nature, they used it at 100% as they could, right? So when they killed the animal, every part, every inch of the animal was used. And, that's...
It's almost like its death does not go in vain.
And yeah, absolutely. That's the best way of putting it. And we don't have that connection with the world. And
so let me just plug in Jordan Peterson again. So there's a point where you can, because, you could simply say that what's the scientific reason? Like, what reason is there that you should use every part of it?
Right.
And you couldn't probably prove it scientifically, but you said yourself that there is something about being in harmony with nature,
right,
and doing certain things. So that's the kind of stuff that he would talk about,
right?
That you can't really scientifically show it. It's not a rigid thing, but it's something that you feel is the right thing to do.
Right.
But where do you get that feeling? Because we get feelings also have like biological roots. You don't just have them. There's some primal instincts that you have that go back thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years. So what knowledge is there?
Just like the feelings that make you hungry.
Yes.
And want to crave,
Right.
Sugar. Yeah,
all of those, right? So that one's really interesting, the one about sugar. Do you guys know about why we crave sugar so much?
No.
About when we were hunter-gatherers, the whole thing that we would never know where our next meal would be. And we would hunt down food like sugar, like for instance, honey, because it would give you energy for long periods of time, right? You could store it. It could turn into fat, right? But so that was great back then because you might not eat for a week, like we said before. But it's not good now.
And people also store things in honey, I think. They use like honey to
preserver.
Ah, right.
Well, he was talking about that in the podcast where they would store those mushroom skins or whatever, and they could use that to light fire.
Or you covered in salt.
Insane, wasn't it?
Whoa.
Where they found that old, I forgot how old it was dated, but they had a piece of a mushroom thing that was like flattened almost. There it burns. It's very easy to light, and his hat was made out of it. Remember in the beginning?
Oh. So there was a dead person that they found, a very old person, and
it
was like a really important. He puts like this mushroom thing that it burns really, really slow, so you can use it as a torch. And he had it clipped to his right side, which
makes
it's like a really important part to him at the time.
So where human beings were
no, it's because on your right side is where you put like your knife and tools that you really
can easily reach.
You can easily access.
It's so it's like a tool. So what he was saying was people that lived up in the up in the north where it would be cold or winter, like how did they move around? Like even right now, if we went with our current jackets and stuff like now, we couldn't walk the distances they did. You would just die. So like what they had was this little skin of mushrooms. I don't know. He explained it how they made it in the podcast. I forgot. But you're able to put something in it, and then you fold it, and it burns it really slowly. So then you have fire with you as you're traveling.
Oh wow!
So like the power.
It's like a really slow burn.
Yeah. So you can just keep it, and it just keeps burning. When that's about to wear off, then you just start a new one, and you just put it in your pocket or something. So when you're ready to settle down for the night, you have a fire that's already going, like a small little, burns really slow. So then in that you can just take other woods or whatever and start a fire because you don't have matches back then. So if you're in the winter, it's windy, so you just have a portable fire that you just carry like a torch.
Man, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and I forgot how I don't even know what would you search to look that up, but
Mushroom Man. Right side
tool, like with the significance of it was like that it was really old.
Important right side.
It was really old, and then we the humans were aware, tying in more into Terrace McKenna's thing, how more we were connected to mushrooms, and how that was our tool to be more consciously aware.
He was talking about some sort of a genesis process that it has many beneficial benefits.
Sure.
Beneficial benefits, of course.
Yep. Good old.
I agree. As you were talking, I don't know why, but that pizza box reminds me of a pyramid, and I just thought that, just dawned on me. Like I never thought about it before. Thinking about like the pyramids in Egypt and stuff, or wherever in the world, like. I find it odd, the reason I was thinking about it before was because the new Assassin's Creed game that's coming out, its take place is during the pyramid era in the Niles and with the pharaohs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, like, they did such a good job in preserving their history, and nowhere did they ever fucking mention how they made the fucking pyramids. You know, like, it's so weird, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
No, I mean,
like, I never thought about that.
There is current research that shows that there were two ancient Egypts that we know of, right?
Yeah.
There's ancient Egypt 6,000 years ago, then there's an ancient 12,000 years ago. So the Great Pyramid is actually
The
might
oldest
be
one.
from the old one,
Right.
because the newer ones, right, they get shittier and shittier. So there was like that whole
They had miscommunication of information missing, but even either one didn't do it. You know, like they were so good in preserving afterlife, putting, you know, vases full of food, wine, honey to take in the afterlife, and you just have the story of the pharaoh that takes place, and you know how he came to be. But there is no instructions or anything left behind, or even hieroglyphics of how and when the pyramids were being. You know, you don't see that shit. It's like so bizarre. Like the main thing that they fucking made, they won't even make it anywhere. It's like maybe it's like they don't want to give away the secret. Maybe.
Well, actually,
Maybe
there is actually a theory why that happened. So they say, like Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock have talked about that there was a cataclysmic event 12,000 years ago.
Right.
So there might have been, there's evidence of like big floods, right?
Right.
Throughout North America and even in like the Mediterranean.
Right.
So they hypothesized that there was possibly a great flood which killed like civilizations there.
Right.
Because you also get the fact that the pyramids, after the incredible ones, the younger ones are really shitty. It's like
even
the builders
or
the people with the knowledge died, and that people are rebuilding and trying to reclaim the glory days. So
Right.
they're trying to build a pyramid, but they don't know how.
But even the shittier ones don't have any hieroglyphics of how and when they made it. I mean, not when they made it, but not the steps that it was taken to make it. You know, like even like everyone, every generation gap skipped it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Maybe they thought that we would be smart enough to just look at it and understand how it's made.
But it's bizarre, isn't it?
Like the instructions are the pyramid itself.
Yeah.
They just don't get it.
It's funny that we're calling it shitty, but I mean, it's still pretty cool.
No,
Yeah.
I don't mean to say shitty in that regard.
Like,
but
I see like thousands of people still dying to make this thing.
But like, do you get it?
It's
It's
a shitty pyramid.
No. I mean, think of it in this sense. If the world died, right? The world completely died. Only you and I were left, and we had to figure out electricity again. Like, we would kind of suck at it, right? But we would try to recreate it. We might get there someday.
Shitty in the sense that it was not mathematically accurate and precise and so ahead of its time compared to the ones that came after.
Well, in fact, they weren't even anywhere in quality as good.
Yeah.
Like, they were, like, off angle. Like, it wasn't built
perfect.
properly.
Yeah, but those did have hieroglyphics, but even they didn't mention how they made their crappy version.
Yeah.
Or cool version, whatsoever, relative. But isn't that bizarre?
Crappy version.
I guess so.
I mean, because you go to you look at different empires, they all have some sort of history of how they made things. Like,
Right.
I mean, when you're making a seventh wonder of the world, at that time, there's no, monument or a building that's being built at this scale. I mean, there's millions of people in that city, and no one ever got like, you know what, I'm gonna write a hieroglyphics about this tonight. How it's being made. Like this inspired me to make a hieroglyph.
Definitely odd.
It's just odd that no one ever thought they should do that.
Maybe that was just not the purpose. It wasn't about the gloating. It wasn't about, wow, I'm making this. Look how amazing this is. It was just about God. It was just about, okay, now we can talk to God. Okay, now we can talk to God.
This is weird. Yeah.
They didn't care about anything else. It was not about the gloating.
Or they haven't found any scriptures of their math and their angles. Like, where is all that?
It's odd, man.
I mean, I understand burning the scriptures because that'd be if you're getting invaded, you just wouldn't want to burn all your knowledge because you don't want the next person or next civilization to steal it from you. So I could see the priests burning all their scriptures and stuff like that. The math they figured out how to make all this, but like not even one thing survived.
Yeah. You know how they talk about the Library of Alexandria, and that whenever like a boat came from some other region and it would get into near the library,
right?
So this library was more like a university campus, like the first model, because there was places for people to just talk to each other. There were like classrooms to learn, lectures and all that.
Like so information was being transferred.
From like everywhere. And so when boats came in, the first thing they would do is like any paper products on there, like manuals or something, they would take it and their guys would copy it by hand, so they have a record of it. So I wonder if they had the record of the
They
Egyptian
probably did, and it
pyramids.
got burned down.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
But even then, it is kind of odd that it's not in the hieroglyphics.
It's nowhere in the pyramids.
But how much of it has been destroyed, you know? Like, say there were maybe, like, few versions of it. How many? I mean, we're missing a lot of stuff, right? We don't know anything. We don't know everything about their history.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying even within, like, the pyramid itself where they did, like, the hieroglyphics, or even within the tombs that, you know, when you discover it, you're the first person going in.
Maybe they wouldn't want to, like, document that because it's from the gods or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to look it up right now, and there's not really much on blueprints or documents or an
It's weird,
architectural or a project management plan.
Yeah.
There's no iPad with that data. But yeah, I just that thought just hit me. I'm like, wow, that's
well,
weird.
you could still do project management without a computer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they've proven that they could. You know.
You could have like a
So does that mean they didn't make it? That there was some sort of
aliens,
bro.
Of course, it's aliens, man.
It was here.
Problem solved. Aliens.
I finally saw that show, the one on the History Channel, like Alien something.
Show's hilarious.
Like History of Alien.
Isn't it terrible?
Yeah,
Ancient aliens.
Ancient Aliens.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
No, I have not seen that.
God,
I heard about
they
it.
just jump.
Yeah, it
They
goes
just
all over the
take
place.
off, man.
I don't want to have to say this, but aliens. There's such a good meme on that guy. For
it's like I don't want to say aliens, but aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
never
a guy
saw
with
that.
like the crazy hair, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
love that.
you guys made a meme of me with that guy.
We meaning I.
What were you saying? Were you saying something about aliens?
No, it's just funny. Like, that's their conclusion. There's a
Yeah.
whole show about it, and like the scientists, like I started watching. I'm like, whoa, this is like they're really into it. It's not just one episode.
But it's so terrible, dude. Watching it, you like cringe because you see things. Yes, I understand that they're very they're kind of complex, but that's if you think they were absolutely brain dead stupid.
yeah,
You know,
that's
people
also
from
true.
12,000 years ago, like they couldn't do simple things. Aliens, like what? You know, they do that way too much, man.
We think that they were more
They had
stupid than they
toilets.
actually were.
Yeah,
Especially because we just have no idea how to judge like a day in their lives.
right.
What
I
is-
mean, you know, they've recently found this is one of the I don't know the name, but it's if you look up the top 5 temples in India, there's this one temple where they found like concrete evidence. I'm gonna link it to you guys of like machine use because they show things and they have engineers come over there and they go through some of the stuff that's been carved and they show that it's impossible to do by hand, no
Right.
matter what. That they had machinery. Then
Holy
they do,
shit.
Then they go through all the murals in the temple and things that people thought were just plants and stuff.
Yeah.
He kind of shows that how much they look like some of the machines that we use today for carving, because you would have to have it in a certain diameter, like depending on how things were carved.
Damn.
And they were showing that these were tools that these people are literally telling us how they made this, and we're not looking at it.
So
That's
right
impressive.
there, how much technology do you think they had at some point? Maybe they reached some level that we're not aware of. They had certain technologies that we just lost now.
Yeah, it's
You-
all
we-
about that time 12,000 years ago, man. That's when things just get cut off because there's
talking
so
about
many cataclysmic events.
The
that we
same
don't know.
event you're talking about was in India or Egypt?
So there's evidence that it was all around the world. There's evidence in like Utah of giant floods.
Yeah.
Like if you look at pictures,
no, I'm not
you'll
talking
be
about.
like-
I'm talking about the machine. When was that?
yeah,
Was
this
that
is in
dated?
ancient India. So they say this would have been about 7,000 years ago,
Okay.
6,000 years ago. In between that, that's when the temple was built.
Okay.
And but you know they have evidence of things like that all around India. If you look into ancient Indian architecture, it's incredible.
Right.
Like I'm not sure if there is anything that's comparable because it's like super detailed and ornate.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing is like clean and structured. It's like everything has so much detail and things are made of like multiple pieces rather
Yeah.
than just one stone, which
Yeah.
was way more prominent back then.
Their structure is also complex and beautiful in its own right.
Yeah.
Like when you see some of those monuments, they're beautiful. I don't know why. While we were off, like this Facebook feed came up like from India, and it was like it kind of mind fucked my head. It's a messed up video about these. I don't know how much of it's true. It was on Facebook. I guess I gotta put that disclaimer out there. But from the video that I saw, but it was about this guy who was a butcher, and then I think it was a group of 3 or 4 guys go into him, and they just take their machetes and go kill him. And they show all that shit. It's really disturbing. And the backstory of it was, even if it's not true, we can. The idea is crazy. that, since in India, Hindus believe like cows are part of their gods. So if you have a guy that's, has a butcher shop in the community, is killing cows and feeding it to whoever doesn't, agree with that logic, to these 3 or 4 men, in their minds, it was someone's killing their god every day. And if you believe that literally, what would you do? Like if that was your truth.
Yeah. Sounds logical.
Yeah. So like in that reality, like fuck, it sucks that an innocent person lost their life over stupidity. But for a person that's their brain, like thinking from free will perspective and cosmic perspective, like this is all they know. This is the only bullshit that they've been fed, or bullshit to my regards or my understanding.
Yeah.
But it's just weird that someone, is told something, don't do any research on it, but take it literally and say this is true. That this guy's killing my god. Now I got to take his life and do. It's a similar story like what you were saying earlier, where that guy kills in that story the person to protect the mother. So this guy's he's
justifying it.
Yeah, they're taking justice in their own hand, and by killing this guy, just fucked him in the head. Like shit,
That is crazy.
You see their side, which is wrong, but you see it.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. It's just terrifying. And then you just think about it, with different ideologies, and everyone thinks like that. If you take it to the extreme end, how far do we take it? And that's why, like, more and more I appreciate America more, because regardless of all its faults and ups and downs, because nothing's perfect, this was not the first place, but a first place to get it right, of the thought of free speech and liberty and freedom of religion. That alone is such a huge achievement of humanity, pushing democracy and equality forward. And I mean, now we're into a stage where we're losing that, because the people that are fighting for free thought and free speech don't want any free thought or free speech. It's getting weird, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We live in a community where we all have different religions and backgrounds, and we can all openly say and comfortably say how we feel about shit. I mean, the fact that we're doing this, there is no consequence how we openly talk about our personal beliefs. We can't do this in Saudi Arabia. I can't see us doing this in Pakistan. I can't see us doing it in Egypt. Yeah. Like, we would get slaughtered the next day. Like, it's just weird. Like, free thought and free expression has so much consequence if someone else doesn't agree with it. It's just bizarre. And anyone that doesn't, it's just, to me, fucked up in their head. Like, Yeah,
I mean, it shows you how structured the power structure is.
Yeah.
Like that not having free thought basically is because the people that are controlling the thought process don't want other ideas.
Yes, right.
They want things to stay the way they are. And free thought doesn't promote things to stay conservative.
Right.
It leads to change.
Change, right. And it doesn't matter if it offends you either. Like, your idea is your idea. And you can't infringe your rights and idea on me, and I can't do that on you. But I could talk to you about it. I could still stand here and say, regardless, if you don't like it, you have to move, or if I'm being disrupted, then I have to move regardless. But I can bring pain and suffering into you because you think differently than I do.
Yeah.
That's your right? That would be a right. Free thought, would that be a right?
Free thought is a right as far as, I mean, you can freely think inside your head, right?
Yeah.
But when you express it, it has to be guaranteed by the government. There has to be a structure in place to protect you from that. Otherwise,
correct.
I mean, you don't really have it.
No,
right?
I mean, with nature, so does nature, by nature, do we have free thought? And
by nature, you have free thought, yeah, because you can have a free thought right now.
Yeah,
but you don't have the right to express it.
Express it, correct.
But
should the nature be the right of free expression?
I mean, how do you change? What do you mean?
I mean, is it, how we say, like, healthcare is not a natural right? Would a freedom of expression be a natural right? I think that's what I'm asking, or trying to understand.
I guess there's two ways to say it, right? You can say it's a right, but it's not really a right, because when you think of a right, it's something you just naturally have. It's more, what do you call that? When people are entitled, it's an entitlement. I feel that has to be provided. It's not. I wouldn't call it a right. you're entitled to it if the structure you live in exists.
I think
it is a natural right.
Yeah, I think it is a natural.
Because if I come into the world, if I just want to dance all day, don't I have the freedom to do that?
Are you saying freedom of expression?
Like
expression, yeah.
But what protects your expression? I mean, you can be killed for the way you express it, right?
Man-made laws don't protect it, I guess.
No, I mean, you can be killed for it, but it's just still a natural right. Like, naturally you have it. Like
naturally you can express yourself.
Speak or to communicate with each other.
Right, you can naturally do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So then it would be natural, right?
True.
Like if I come into the world, I can just dance any style.
Yeah,
but then the man-made law would say
like healthcare, you don't have a natural right to because somebody else has to do it.
Yeah.
You can't force anybody else.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking like, you're right. It is a natural expression, is naturally there, but your protection isn't natural, right?
Yeah.
So somebody actually protecting you, like a third person protecting you from from like another person who's harming you for your or to stop you from expressing yourself. You have no right to that.
Right.
So like a cop, you have no right to a cop or a firefighter.
Right. Yeah.
Or the army.
Yeah, that's something that we agree that we need, right?
Yeah, it's more like a privilege to have like a stable country. It's not a right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just thinking like how unique and lucky we are that we are in this country, and it's kind of I think like at a turning point where does freedom of speech stop freedom of speech? We're getting to that point, or does it prevail and get past that? Because with that whole PC. What is it? PC policing and what's that other stuff? That's happening in colleges. Yeah, social justice warriors and all the stuff that's happening in college campuses.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
I mean, they're rewriting society in a way in their own. Like, okay, so there's this whole outrage culture right now, and there's people saying that words can hurt as much as like physical assault. Like that's one of their stances.
And then things like microaggressions, meaning like you could do really small little things.
Right.
And then those are actually acts of larger aggressions.
Yes. And if you really think about that, I mean, you can have a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I know Jordan Peterson does, you get to a point where you think the things that we're talking about are almost absurd.
Yeah.
Like, that's an absurd thing to think. And the fact that we, like, the whole section of a society can believe it.
Yeah.
And yet that it's up for debate. It kind of shows where we are. Are we, like, devolving?
No, it does more and more. Like consciously we're taking a step backwards. Like there's some misguided direction.
Yeah. Like, okay, think about it for 1 second. Everything naturally evolves, right? Most of the time it's about survival, and you evolve in order to continue surviving, right?
Moving forward.
Moving forward, you evolve, you get perhaps better at things. It seems like that since we stepped out of natural selection in a way, we kind of stepped out of nature. I know we're part of it, but we kind of are making our own rules.
Right.
So, I mean, we have the power to do what no other thing has ever done, which is go backwards, devolve, in a way. So, because now it's our responsibility. We're no longer bound by nature in some ways.
Yeah. No,
I know there's like a transcendent thing.
I just had this funny flash in my head. We get to a point where we're like, nah, fuck this, let's go back.
I mean, maybe nature knew what needed to be done, but it really does seem like generally things are getting stupider, even when we have more access to information than ever before.
Yeah. So like that whole concept of truth that we taught them in the past gets so muddy. Like what is the truth, and how come? Like why doesn't the other person see the same truth that I see? Am I wrong? Are they wrong? No, they must be wrong because I know I'm not wrong because I'm more open-minded.
Yeah.
Then am I being biased? The shit that I'm reading, how true is that? It just. This whole Trump era of fake news, and like he just really muddied the water for everyone to really truly know what the fuck's going on in a sense,
Yeah.
And you kind of have to question yourself, and then even what you think you don't know. It just gets bizarre, and someone will just throw another curveball.
I think the world has, in a sense, either become so complex, or it seems, or everything has been made to look so complex. Yeah. Maybe. That we can no one person can ever know the truth on more than just a few things that they specialize in.
Right.
Like, for instance, you can specialize in a field and you can know the truth all the way. But for other things, for everything else, you've just got to trust the people that are doing the research that they're probably telling the truth. Like, who do you trust? Who do you not trust? How do you make up your mind on who you trust, who you don't?
Yeah.
Because no matter, for instance, if you believe everything that Jordan Peterson says, I mean, he spent a lifetime studying a subject.
Right.
Like, can I actually spend a lifetime
Not.
and be like, all right, everything he said is correct? Or
You just don't
Sam
have enough
Harris.
time
Nobody
in the
does,
world to
right?
specialize in everything. So you gotta.
So that leaves the door so open for constant manipulation
Yeah.
by people that are in control of that information.
Yeah, and the people that are trying to do it are the people with bad intentions. Initially, they're trying to either publicly gain something financially, or just publicly just have some sort of awareness for themselves and whatnot. But what kind of hurts is like, it's this path that we've taken, you know. And there's this cool video that I saw in Walks. How you pronounce it? That
Walks,
right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, with a V, you're saying the V wrong.
Yeah, I just
You're saying it as like a W.
Yeah, that's the what's the thing called? Like we packies that we can't pronounce the letter we, or at least I can.
V.
But that word is cool. Someone like translated in one of the comments, like, you know, this word means voice. I was like, oh, that's in French or Spanish. I forgot. I think mostly French. So that makes sense to, you know, name something a newsletter or newsfeed on voice.
Right.
But they had this cool 5-minute episode on YouTube that I think I shared. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but they were just making an argument for a system that caters not to only two parties but multiple parties, and they were using examples throughout the world. I think it was Australia and Finland and maybe Sweden that are doing it, where it's based on popularity and not parties. So you and I can start a party tomorrow, and then we would have the same playing field of being in the election as everyone else, but based on the popularity. So let's just say, I forgot. Let's just say if there's 100% and there's 100 seats in the Senate or whatever, right? And based on the percentage of votes each party gets, that's how many seats you get.
It's a parliamentary system.
So everyone, the party that, you know, the popular party is the one that gets the more seats, and then the smaller parties then can unite on smaller subjects to work against a bigger party, you know. So this opens up doors, because right now we have a really shitty system where it's only two fucking parties. So if you don't like either, then you just gotta vote for one or the other.
It's basically a monopoly. I mean, they won't even let anybody else on the stage.
Correct.
What's his name? Gary? The Independent Party.
The Libertarian?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The guy that was crazy, right? That did that smoosh thing or whatever.
Kind of crazy, I guess.
Gary Johnson?
Gary Johnson. Yeah, I don't know why the name.
He really is a kook.
I might be making that name
up,
but I think
no, that's the right name.
Gary Johnson.
But he couldn't even get on the stage. I think you need like a certain percent to be polling at a certain percentage to get on the debate floor. And think about, like, once you get on that floor, once you get on that main stage, that's so much free marketing, because everyone sees you, they get to hear your message.
Yeah,
that's why one of the reasons Trump was so popular. He was literally given free PR all the time.
Yeah,
that's the one name you thought of all the time, and we kind of all know how important branding and marketing is.
Right.
So as far as that goes, Trump was the best marketer in the election.
And also that whole the gerrymandering stuff that goes on, you know, within communities that, you know, the red states that know they just draw the lines differently. So, and the Republicans and Democrats do it on both sides, but the whole gerrymandering is also bullshit.
The idea of gerrymandering is just scary.
Yeah, because now you're just, I mean, one area could be perfectly blue or perfectly red, but you just draw the line. So
like,
the
let's
votes
say there's
count
4 people
way.
here, right? And we and 3 of you are counted as 1, and then me as 1 is counted as 1.
Right.
So your 3 people is counted the same thing as my 1.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
So is this happening on both sides?
Yeah, but I think
Republicans abuse
Republicans
it more.
have. I think they've also just had the opportunity to like abuse it more
in the South.
So they've taken advantage
in
of
the South states where they don't want the black votes to go out. They just draw lines where they would, you know, favor Republicans.
Yeah, because you just got to draw lines on where congressional districts should be.
Yeah.
And you can draw it so you get the most votes.
Yeah, so let's just say if 60% of the people are Democrat and 40 are Republican, then they'll just draw a line where they'll split that 60 into, you know,
10,
they'll take the 20 into the Republican side. So even those Democrats vote, that county is red because so it just splits up the votes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous that it's allowed.
Yeah, so it should be that everyone gets to vote, and it's just based on popular. There is no gerrymandering and all that shit. It just
well, the crazy thing is those countries you're talking about are actually less populated than we are. Yeah, and they have more parties, so we have more people and less parties.
So yeah, how many parties will we get?
I mean, there should be so much difference of thought. America is such a huge country.
Yeah, you
especially
can't
compared to European countries. It's the size of Europe.
Yeah,
basically.
you know the thing that I find the strangest. I was just thinking the other day, if I'm here in Streamwood and there's something I want to do with the business or whatever, you basically have to get permission in a way because federal government's over everything. Kind of in a way for certain things from all the way in Washington, and it's like worlds apart.
Yeah,
and the fact that there is the whole idea of a central government for the United States of America, which could probably be like 5-6 different countries, maybe more.
Yeah.
Because of how different the different regions are, and everyone has their different needs. The Southwest, Southeast, the Central.
Yeah.
It's completely different needs.
Yeah.
But we're all relegated to follow the federal government in a lot of aspects.
Right.
It's strange.
Yeah, they do the overall.
But that's also kind of cool about our country. Because, like I said, we're the size of Europe, but we're pretty homogenous, so we all speak one language.
Yeah.
If you go to one part of the country to the other, it's going to be different as far as landscapes goes.
You can get along.
But the street signs, how you speak, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The only
like when we went to Denver, it felt like we were at a different country, but it felt like home.
It's like a different part of your home.
Yeah.
The place that I found most different was Boston. I went there recently, and you could sometimes, if you go to the more local areas, you can actually not understand them. They have that Bostonian accent.
Oh.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Just a few miles away.
Well, Boston is pretty far though from here, and it's kind of like a flight from Boston to California is about 6.5 hours.
Yeah,
and some people were saying it's up to 7 hours. If you go all the way to London,
that's about the same.
Yeah, but that's about the same.
About 8 hours to go to London from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this
is how far the U.S.
goes. When you see like when I saw that video, I just get sad. Like, fuck, man, why? If I show this to an average human being, if I start walking around here and everyone will look at this and say, yeah, this makes sense, but we can never push this forward because the people in play will never let this happen. Like, you would need.
This is why I think that Trump supporters kind of have a point with the deep state, because what you're about to say, I think, is that there's so many interests and parties that would never allow this system to change.
So I think the bright side of it is that the people in Congress right now are the old people, not the old people, but they are old, but their mentality is from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There is a future hope coming that the millennials that we have now, which are kind of also fucking scary, with their social justice warrior shit. If they at least I'm hopeful that at least with that ideology that we would get rid of these stupid, concepts of two parties systems and have more than one party and do the popular role.
The younger generation is like fighting this war, like they're like really trying to right every wrong, but they've never actually faced any wrongs themselves. So they're like in a weird position,
I feel like their heart's in the right place on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But at the age of 18, 19, what the fuck are you standing up for? You barely know yourself, man.
Yeah.
If you're going to college in America, you aren't even an adult yet. Especially now, because being an adult has gotten... Like right now, I'm 29. In a different world, I should have like 3 kids by now.
Yeah.
And be like halfway to my death.
Yeah.
I
guess the one thing you have to appreciate is that you'd rather have that than them not participating at all, right? At least they care.
Maybe they should wait to participate.
Maybe.
You just gotta be logically thinking. You can every idea, even no matter how good it is, could be improved. So like we shouldn't get dead set locked on certain ideas and be open-minded to new information and perceiving.
So before the social justice warrior thing happened, I was at Mizzou, and before this whole thing, before I graduated and before I saw it come out and actually be in the news, I felt that the people that I was like, these people were very nice people, but I just felt like they were so naive about the world, about life, about how things work outside the community, outside the school. And even the local kids, they were just like everything about their life was just a school, And then they saw stuff on the news and they would react to it. And something happened on campus, they would react to it. And it was just all about righting every wrong. And I feel like they knew nothing about actual life, like about actual problems and actual struggles that people go through. You know, they were just trying to find somebody to help, and in that they were just misguided.
You know, what would be interesting is if we could go as far back as possible and see where the seed of that idea originated. Like, where did this all begin? Like, can we pinpoint a point in the past where we see, like what are the elements?
Well, I think
like,
it's calibrations, right?
All this,
it's calibrations, right? So when society goes, or it's like a pendulum. When society goes one way and then it goes back the other way, sometimes the pendulum swings too much to the side of good, or the side of good, or the good intentions become almost like evil, authoritarian intentions, you know? Yeah. Be like, you have to be good. Before, it was like, you should be good, so now it's like, you have to be good. So you have to talk like this. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, it becomes a dictatorship. Yeah. So it's like, because the hard left and the hard right kind of align in that way, they both lead to dictatorships, right? Yeah. It's like, I tell you what to do. Fuck it. We're not even going to discuss this anymore. Yeah. I tell you what to do.
Yeah, like any extreme end of the spectrum is wrong. You know, like once, like what's that one logic they used to say, like, you know, whatever idea it is, just see it tenfold, or see it like push it to the extreme. Does that ideology survive? If it doesn't, then it's not right. Then you need to fix it now. What's that concept?
Or I forget the name.
Being Zen?
We almost did a whole video on this.
Yeah.
Too. Accelerationism.
Yeah, accelerationism. So, like, even if you take that idea with social justice warriors, how far and how extreme do we take this, and how far do you want to normalize it? Like, and if you picture a world where, like Hasban was saying, that you can't say things or do things to hurt people's feelings, or like it'll just be a dull fucking world where everyone is just trying so hard not to offend someone.
Yeah, and not holding
the door behind them, cutting them off. Like, dude, did someone that cuts you off, do they get arrested? And if they do, how long? What's the term for that? Like, you know, no one can ever piss anyone off. Like,
it's ridiculous. Like, not even just hurting people, but it could become a very, like, if you push it to the extreme, I guess you might have a world where truth no longer is at the forefront.
Right.
Because it's more important that people's feelings aren't hurt.
Yeah.
Than what the truth is.
Yeah. So what the fucked up part about it, all of this is conserving everyone's not rights, but like thought, or not hurting people, is to your point. Like, then how do you openly talk about ideas without, you know, let's just say we're debating about truth. You know, there's 10 people on the panel, and, you know, 10 of them believe in religion and one guy doesn't, and then he probably, let's just say, has all the right facts. Then how can he perceive his thought out or information out to prevent these people from following a idea or logic that's not true, and they can find benefit in their lives to step out of it. So, like, you wouldn't be able to ever say anything, because now you've offended people of faith. So now you know NASA or any scientist that has any research showing that the Earth's older than 6,000 years old, we can't publish that because it's going to offend a base of, you know, faith. So if in the extreme end, that idea is just so flawed and stupid that it would destroy us more than anything, you know?
Yeah. So there's something that's going on right now, right, in the working force, where people are wondering why aren't females in higher, like, managerial, like CEO, these top positions? And most of the sectors just want to kind of say, like, the media especially just wants to say that it's a case of sexism, right?
Right.
But Weinstein, I think that's Brett Weinstein. Am I saying his name right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Brett Weinstein.
Not the rapist.
Not the rapist.
I was going to say the rapist or not?
No, the intellectual who was on Joe Rogan. So he was recently...
Is he the guy from Google?
No, he's not.
Okay. He's talking about that Evergreen College.
Oh, yeah, that guy's awesome,
Yeah, so...
The teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was talking about, if we just label it as being sexism, then we don't... You know, it could be sexism, right? But we have to first go through the steps and see what are the reasons, first of all, before we label it.
Yeah.
Why aren't women in these roles? So he talks about simple biological things, like, for instance, a woman, a guy can settle down and have children anytime, right?
Yeah.
But a woman has a biological clock. And so basically everything has to be done before, say, 40. Right. And furthermore, there's a trait there's a difference in traits. Like men actually go for, they're okay with spending 70, 80 hours a week if they need to get extremely good at one thing.
Right.
And like sacrifice other things. Whereas the female wants a more wholesome life.
Yeah.
She doesn't want just one thing like work, which a male can do, just focus on work.
Yeah.
But they want a family. They want work. They want a bunch of things, a social circle.
Right.
So they want a whole life rather than be incredible at one thing. They want to be good enough at everything, have a more whole life.
Right.
So that's why they don't tend to be in those roles, because males are more like obsessive.
Like the father figure, or like we have that mentality where the man provides. So like we take that mentality from like growing up. Oh, I'm gonna provide for my family. Yeah. So I'm gonna do whatever I have to do it. So then we are just kind of programmed in a sense, naturally, just to work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week if we have to provide for our family. And if the family's not there, then if I work this hard enough, I can get money. Yeah. The more money I have, I can settle down, find a girl that's also looking, for a guy to provide and so forth. But now, with us evolving in that area, like girls have taken a role in the working force, and now like me and my wife, we both work full-time jobs, and we have a child. It's not just me just providing. Yeah. So like we are going down that path, and now that we are, there are scenarios where girls wouldn't want to put in that time.
Yes. So there's research on that too, by the way.
And the reasons would be, like you said, wanting to settle down and have a family. If you have a family, do you really want to work 80 hours a week? Like you're not going to be there for your child.
They would prefer the family.
Yeah.
So there's actual research that shows that once a majority of females, when they get that position where they have to put in like 70 hours, like something crazy to excel, to become like, say, a CEO or something like that, they tend to go away from it. Like they would just stop that career. Yeah. They wouldn't be as willing as the male to put in the work. And not have a life, for instance, Right. So, like, that's the whole core of it. Like, you can go into and look at actual reasons why this is happening. Right. Or are you going to just make up for it by believing in something completely that's not true, Yeah. Just to please and be like, oh, we don't want to, like, because what does that do? It hurts feelings, right? Yeah. But it's the truth. Yeah. So then, it's a whole battle between those two sides.
Unless you see the truth and accept it, you can move on correctly. Just gonna be a bandage over the wound. It's not gonna do anyone good. Sooner or later, it's gonna catch up to you.
And there's nothing wrong with being a housewife, by the way. Either.
No, of course not.
It's a very respectful and maybe even more like.
I always tell my wife that I would love to stay home. Well,
that's just weird. No,
yeah, that's just that's like a gender.
Man.
No, it doesn't matter.
You do the right thing.
That's like a gender role switch.
Reversal, yeah.
Yeah, like I would love to stay home and just be with my daughter all day. Yeah. I don't. I would love that role actually.
Tell me, have you ever has this ever happened to you? Because he brings up this one thing. So he's saying that there will be times if he's like, for instance, working at home, on something at home, and he would work with his wife as well. They would both work on some kind of paper or thesis, right? Right. And they would get really into it. Like, you're in the flow. Right. And he will just get into it and, completely forget that he even has a kid upstairs. Yeah. Whereas his wife, she would be really into it, and then she can turn it off and be like, oh, I got to check on the kid. But he can't turn off. And he was also talking about that as a trait. Yeah, difference in traits.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the love that a mom has, a dad can't even match. I feel like most people would agree to that. It's not a scientific thing. It's just more of a.
I feel like I love my daughter more, but like there's parts where like those things do happen. You know, and like shit, man. Like I wasn't even thinking about that. But like when I, because I mean I do have a full-time job and we do this on the side. So when I'm making videos for our YouTube channel, that takes a lot of time out of my thing, and when I'm focused in that flow through, there are so many moments when she's gone to sleep, I'm like, fuck,
exactly,
I missed out, right? Like fuck, what did I do that? Like, and it hurts, but like to your point, when you're there in that state, that's all that matters. I have to finish this. I have to get this done. Yeah, there's like this this hunger, this feeling that like you said, it's our trait almost.
Yeah, you can't turn on and off.
It's hard, yeah. As much as I love my daughter, like there's been so many.
You don't love her enough.
Not enough, I guess. But like there's been, I can just recall a few flashes of that happening, and I turn on like shit. She fell asleep before, my mind was just so focused on this.
So then, if we know these things, then we can kind of take that and take it to the workplace. What does it mean for the workplace?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a difference?
Yeah.
I mean, there will of course be differences, right? From that, like how those two different paths, where they lead. So one can be obsessed and try to be exceptional at one thing, while one can be focused on a more wholesome life, and that leads to different things. It's like two different sides. It's not the same thing at all.
It's all it's kind of a productivity based, right? So like, if you are an employer, regardless of who you are, and you hire, so let's say if that trait does exist between a man and a woman, then the output of a man in terms of that scenario will be a lot higher. So in return, you'll be getting a higher volume, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the woman can match it, but there are scenarios where if they are doing it and they're thinking about their kids, there is a part where I cut it off, right? And if the mother is thinking about the kids, checking in where they are, that slows productivity down. So you're not getting the same return for the dollar. Yeah. In that aspect. Not saying that's not true for all cases, but you have to look at things on a majority basis. And if anything goes over 51%, that's a majority, right? So for me, if anything happens more than 60, then the 60 is more of the norm, and you kind of have to. Not naturally, but like that for me, that's more than enough to say, okay, this is the norm. This is not natural. It is kind of natural in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I see that. And I guess right now, the two sides kind of to me seem like it's, the male can be more productive in the workforce, right? Especially in their 30s, 40s, they can be more productive. Whereas the female can't be as productive, but there's almost like, it seems like a movement going on that they should be paid
the same,
almost because for the pain or maybe the extra work that goes into being a mother, for instance.
Yeah.
And the workforce should compensate for that.
Right.
I feel like we're guys talking about this topic, but we don't have the other genders represented.
Right.
No, we don't, but we can still think. It doesn't hurt to think.
I know. I feel like we're missing some things. Because what always happens is I had this conversation with guys, and we all seem to be like
on the same page.
Yeah. Then you have the same conversation with the female.
And you see
they bring out these points. I'm like, fuck, I never thought of that or that. Oh, I guess that too.
So like for me, it works
because that happened recently with me.
But I mean, we're trying to get to the point of why males tend to hold these positions and get paid more. Like there's a reason, right? Logical reason why that happens.
I think they want it more sometimes.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think they just want it more.
Yeah. There's a lot of sacrifices being made when you're at that position in this time.
It's also easier to make that sacrifice because you don't have as much obligation societally to your parents to bear kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, bearing kids is like mothers just naturally, like we talked about, are just caretakers, and it's just in their trait to do it. So even thinking about sacrificing even 5 more hours a week or a day or whatever, that like
even feminists say that females are more have more empathy, and they're not as aggressive. So naturally, they would basically.
I mean, it's in our natural DNA. The guy would be the protector, and the girl, would be the one that reproduces.
That would be the ideal role.
Yeah.
But there's some guys that are pussies.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I'm saying just naturally, overall, nature's goal was just a 10, and you have your few defects.
But just like that conversation we had earlier about the meat, and you were telling me that you don't want to follow what nature has planned.
Right.
So I think that proponents for
absolutely
more would basically say that you don't want to do what nature wants you to do here. You want to do what's
right.
Yeah, what's right.
What's more morally and ethically right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess then the question is that we know that the female is not equal to the male in the workforce because of many biological things.
Certain workforce, I would say, but
yes,
but they're definitely not equal, right?
Because they're not equal for sure, right? So now should they be?
It's not a fact. It's a fact. I mean,
should they be compensated for not being equal?
Well, they already do get things like maternity leave, if I'm right, that women get more than men, right?
Men don't even get it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that wrong, but I don't think men get it at all. I think in some countries they do.
Some
but
countries
not in the US.
In the US, it will be a company benefit if they do.
It's not. Some private company might do it, but it's not a norm.
It's not a government protected leave. So we're
already saying that women have certain rights that men don't.
Correct. I mean, the law is Family Medical Leave Act, so it's FMLA, and that gives so if a woman was to have a child and you have 12 weeks, your job's protected, um, without pay, but you could file for unemployment, or if some companies as a benefit will have short-term disability, so while you're out, you get 60% of your paycheck or 80%. But males are not protected by that same leave. The only time the males can take time off if the wife had, if I had some sort of complications where after she came home from the birth and she's not able to care for herself, then you have to care for the wife. So then the male themselves can take a medical leave act to go,
For the wife.
For the wife, or for your mom, or if you're a caretaker of your mom, they live with you and they got sick, then they needed your immediate attention, then you can request 12 weeks off. But yeah, so in terms of like having a child, men are not protected, but that's something Ivana Trump is going to fight for.
Which, I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, if the female is going through the whole process of labor,
right?
It makes sense that they get it.
But being a father, and then so when my wife came back, she was not 100%. So it's insane. Their body just went through this fucking experience. Right now, they're in a recovery mode. I forgot how long it takes the body to fully recover, but I know it could be up to a year, I want to say. Because you just fucking had a birth,
Right.
Baby just came out of you. So your body went to a formation that has to put itself back together. So you're not 100%. And then during the first few weeks, it's just tough. You you're just mentally deprived of sleep, and you're taking care for a child. In a sense, a father needs to be there as much as he can too in the beginning. In my at least for the first 3 weeks. So I took 2 weeks off. I took about 2.5 weeks off when my
wife
wife
got tired of watching my wife.
No, I mean it was I wish I could have done at least 5 or 6, because those are the first few weeks are the hardest, and then it's just one person, especially if you already have a kid and you have another kid, just you can only imagine how hard that would be. But I think it makes sense for the guy to be there to give his wife the time that she needs to recover, like a week or two,
So right now, so you did not get anything, but that was like a saved up vacation?
Yeah, my vacation and personal time that I used to take off. But I was just lucky enough to even have that. I mean, there's people that don't even have that, But my personal experience was that I wish I was there enough so my wife can rest and I can look after the child.
Now, why do I feel like this is probably something that's in Europe but not here? Like, I don't know if you can look at European countries.
I think the males over there also get whatever time off. In Canada, you get 1 year protected leave off for women. 1 year.
Wow.
So you have a job. Let's say you employ this girl and she has a kid. By law, you got to hold her job for a year. So then you would have to temporarily hire someone to replace her. And when that person came back, then you replace them. Which, I mean, from a cold-hearted perspective, from a business perspective, one that sucks because now you have to pay for her being out, so you have to pay her unemployment. You have to I forgot what it's called, but you got to partially pay off their unemployment while they're out. On top of that, you got to hire someone else. So small businesses get hurt with these benefits, but it's one of those things that you have to do. So because of that, we only have 12 weeks here. In other countries that say no, it doesn't. Yeah, it puts a burden. So I guess it does put a burden on smaller businesses, but then the government would have to subsidize the smaller businesses, to take that hit.
This guy I know had hired somebody, and he couldn't get rid of them for that reason.
Yeah,
and he was like, she just kept having kids.
Yeah,
he's like, there's this old man. He employed somebody. He's like, "What the hell do you want me to do? Like, you can't just keep having kids. Like, you're gonna work for me or you're not."
So there's this thing, right? So no matter what system you have, there will never be utopia. So the intentions are there to protect, woman's job for having a kid. They shouldn't be punished for that, and I agree.
Yeah.
But some, there's always this few norms, right? That would use that loophole, get a job, get a kid, and they'll get a year off, and they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Or they're getting unemployment while they're off. And so then when they come back, work for 2-3 months, get another kid, and boom, they're out. So there are people that take advantages of these loopholes, but it's very few. Overall, people benefit from it. Same thing as welfare. There are people who are just scumbags and lazy. They play the system. They play, the link cards that we get in Illinois. They lie to take advantage of it. Something they didn't earn, they're taking it because they found a loophole. But overall, more people benefit from it. So it's okay for me, from my perspective, those assholes who take advantage of it. Because I know overall, more people are benefiting from it.
Right.
So it's better just to have it.
Yeah. I guess when you look at any of these things in any system, you kind of get you can almost get a sense, like in America versus Europe, like what is like the hierarchy of values?
Right.
Like what do we value most? And in America, it certainly seems like productivity is like number one. That's our number one value.
Yeah.
In Europe, it might be more oriented towards...
And RIOs, return on investments.
Yeah, that's all it's about. And obviously, that's not... A lot of us, if you talk to us, we would not say that's the number one value. But it is.
Yeah.
So we're not in control at all.
I think America is all about money. If you go to Europe, that's one of the first things they mention as a stereotypical American.
Yeah,
we're just all about the money, and our culture is it's got such a root in our culture. If you think about Donald Trump, he actually represents a lot of America, a lot of this rich, elite, snobby type of living. How his wife is, how his daughter is.
The American dream.
Yeah, it's like a really perverse American dream, though. It's like that snobby, everything's about money, everything's about fame, everything's kind of nihilistic. Oh, I don't know if you saw that the John Oliver thing I was talking about in
his last
episode? his most recent episode.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's about Trump. It's one of the funniest things in the world. I think this was when he was. I think a reporter was asking his take about the story. Yeah. He was like, we're the fake news. So why don't you tell us what you meant?
Yeah. He's like, no, I just won't do it. That's for you to figure out.
Yeah. He kept saying that. He's like, I don't know what I said. I don't know anything.
But I could have meant this.
So Donald Trump said that?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna try to pull up the exact clip. But
so
basically,
I think it was in 2 months in his office. I want to say, was this ABC or NBC? One of their news. They had
play it. I'll find the part and I'll play it. It's only 1 minute long. It's already been on TV.
We should have connected your.
One of the funniest parts of find it while you guys talk.
So the background is I think it was ABC or NBC. I guess when he finds it, he'll clarify. But they had the 60 Minutes. They'll do interview with Trump or whatever. Yeah. It's one of those things. And Trump said something about Obama. Oh yeah, Trump. This is in his early stage when Trump made allegations of saying that Obama was wiretapping him, and he's a very bad.
The part.
Aim your mic at the speaker since we don't have your laptop hooked up. Hopefully, we can catch the audio that way.
Good. Decently loud.
You can figure that out yourself. The reason I asked is you said you called him sick and bad. Look, you can figure it out yourself.
Put your laptop on.
That is.
I don't think we can play all of that.
Okay, hear it all.
I'm thinking that might be a copyright issue just to play his
I don't know if you heard the line. He said, "I don't stand by anything." The funniest thing an American president has ever said.
The reporter says, "We're fake news. We want to give you the opportunity to clarify what you meant." And the media, he's like, "I don't stand by anything. I could have meant one thing. I could have made another thing." It was so funny. And then he gets pissed off. He's like, "You know what? This is enough." He walks away, sits down in the Oval Office, the desk. It sits down. It only has a phone. It has 2 sheets of paper. He looks around. There's only 2 sheets of paper. It's so awkward. He looks at it. He starts reading it like this, like it's important. It's this giant desk, and he has 2 papers, and he just starts.
It's so obvious that he's just pretending to work.
Yeah. Terrible.
I'll send you. You should send him the. I'll try to find that actual link and send it to you. It's hysterical.
He's like, I don't know anything.
That guy's a complete douche, man. I'm to the point where I don't even care what his supporters think or what his ideologies are. He has dementia. He's crazy. If you're a Republican supporter, to me that doesn't even matter anymore. We should be more concerned about this guy's health. You know, like you have to like look at him, and you can't openly say that he's not crazy. He's just constantly
There's
lying.
some people that think he's a good guy. I think I was telling you guys this story on WhatsApp, but I was in the gym. And there was these two Christian guys talking about Muslim people. It was kind of awkward, and they were both basically saying that religion is fucked up, those people, and like they were being pretty racist. Actually, turned out that they were both Christians. And I really wanted to get into the conversation. I'm like, man, we talk about changing the world all the time. So awkwardly, it's by the TV in like the locker room. I just sit, and then I'm just like, and they kept talking. He knew that he said something racist because he goes to his guy. He goes, and they weren't friends. They were, I guess, just two random people that met. He goes, so that religion that we were talking about, what do you actually feel about them? He's like, they're just murderers and stuff like that, and they have it all this. And I was like, holy crap, this is getting really intense. So I started talking to them, and I was like, you guys make good points about this or that. I try to catch them where I could like agree on them. Yeah, I could find some common themes about guns or something. And they were that stereotypical right wing. And then I was like, well, yeah, I just guns.
I like guns.
Yeah, guns are I love guns.
I carry guns.
Yeah,
You should see my
I got guns.
You should see my Destiny loadout.
But anyways, the conversation starts to shift, and they start talking about demagogues. They're like, what people don't understand is there will be no heaven on earth. We're supposed to have problems, and these politicians will all promise you that they'll solve these problems, but the truth is they can't solve it. It's already written in the Bible. Sure. And we're also gonna. I was like, oh shit, I've never even thought about this stuff. You have people that are like thinking that they're already, and then they're like you have to be. He's like, you have to be like aware of false prophets and demagogues. I was like, bam, I got him. I was like, you're right. We should be afraid of politicians and demagogues. So I'm like, I don't get how you guys don't see Trump as a demagogue. I'm like, he's in New York City, a Democrat. He lies all the time. He is what you're talking about. And the guy had no response for it. He was like, yeah, but he's doing a lot of good things. I'm like, he literally is the thing that you were just describing. I mean, I'm like, is that something you would want your child to be like? Is that something that you would want people that you know to be like? And he didn't have much of a response. But my point is, even before I came in the conversation, I wasn't trying to like stump him. He was for Trump, or they were for Trump, actually. I just don't get it, like how they can be so religious, so righteous, so about God.
His base is evangelical. There was a segment in Vice News where they talked about, they went into one of those big evangelical, how you pronounce evangelicals? Evil genitals.
Evil
Evil genitals, that's what I got to.
Evil genitals.
Trump's evil balls.
That could be a cool skit. But they were showing how a bunch of people, so the reporter was questioning them, and these are not your Christian values. How can you validate Trump? And just for one thing, he's bringing Christmas back. We can finally have a normal Christmas. We can finally say Merry Christmas.
What?
Like stuff like that.
It means the world to them.
It means the world to them that they feel like their Christian values are being taken away. That they can no longer say Merry Christmas. You gotta say Happy Holidays. Just to be politically correct. So they feel like their nation is turning, and because of that, they are gonna. They know he has a lot of flaws, but that one thing that he's doing is worth it enough for them.
Or they're actually afraid, and they want to use any of those reasons to make it okay for them in their conscience, even though they know that he's saying bad things, doing bad things, but they just want to make it right, so they pick anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or they don't get to say Merry Christmas, or they don't get to they feel like their freedom of religion is going away because they can no longer, like, if you mention the word of God, you just you just don't want to offend anyone, so people cannot just openly talk about their God anymore because now you're offending someone else's perspective of God. So, and I kind of see that in the corporate world where no one really talks about religion openly when you sit down in the lunch table, especially if you're sitting with department heads and stuff like that. Everyone's pretty conservative in their religion. They will just say, I'm Christian or I'm Jewish. but they don't go into the details of why they believe it or what they practice,
'Cause
because
the
it gets muddy, right? You know,
entire corporate world's about climbing the ladder. That's where the only benefit
also-
is. So.
Do you know what I was
it's also
thinking?
respecting, I think.
Yeah. So one thing is that you work in a traditional job, right? Where you
Yeah.
all go to an office and you all sit in like a boardroom.
Yeah.
But that world is actually changing really fast.
Oh, sure.
Now no one even goes to a boardroom. Everyone, there's so many people that work online
Yeah.
that you never even get to class with each other. You know.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain industries like yours.
And now corporations are going to start tracking everything you do, your chats, your like emails,
already
your
have.
like movements.
Already happened.
Yeah, and they'll say they're doing it for like legal reasons, but nobody's ever going to have open conversations.
Did you
in the
hear about
workplace.
the girl that flipped the middle finger on Trump as his as his vehicles were? I think he was in Virginia and he was here to give like a speech or something like that. So one of these girls, so as in, you know, reporters were taking pictures of his cars going into the convention. A girl is just bicycling. She worked in marketing. She sees the thing and she flips him up. There's a picture of like his all his cars going into like a girl, like typical, like, you know, not typical. It looked like from the picture that I saw, it looked like a soccer mom or something like that.
Yeah.
Just flipping Trump off. So it went viral, and then her work got a hold of it and they fired her.
Wow.
One, she was a new hire. She was within 90 days, and two, since they worked in marketing, if they were based out of Virginia, so it's a red state. So if other people that they did business with found out they have a person that works with them that doesn't support Trump, they might lose business and clientele and so forth. So
It's too risky.
extra, yeah.
But that one thing Hasban was talking about real quick about recording logs and whatnot, the whole corporate world's changing.
Yeah.
The person who delivers our Coca-Cola products, was complaining the other day. I don't know if I told you guys, but he's like, yeah, man, do you have the check ready? You have the check ready? I gotta go. I'm like, all right, man, relax. Do you want a drink? Do you want anything to eat? Because I'm always nice with him. He's like, no, man, they have us on these logs. I've been at the stop too long, man. That's why you gotta let me know if you need me to take the CO2 tanks or not. This and that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. All right, dude.
So
it's like intense movie.
There's a GPS. They know how long you've
how long.
stopped here. Why are you stopping here so
And then
long?
they also know the average time that it normally takes for you to do that.
all that,
Yeah.
all that.
They're paid on time. So the more deliveries they do, the more they can make. So
No, they're on hourly. But
the guy. Sorry, go ahead and I'll tell my story.
I just want to finish this one thing, that they're on an hour and they want to make sure how efficient they are per hour. So yeah, I guess
Productivity.
your thing works, but
It's not.
no,
my
it was
thing,
just like efficiency. But and then
I guess
so
their theory works.
Hit 3 hills up.
It's a law now. All right, go on with your hypothesis, Shaz.
no,
Bring it home, Shaz. Bring it home.
then but then the department, like the head of this Valley Coke, whatever the company name is that distributes the Coke products,
Yeah.
the head came, was like, yeah, we saw that you had a product returned that you ordered but didn't want to keep. We can't have that going forward. Whatever you order, you have to keep. They're so anal about their efficiency that you have to be in and out.
Yeah.
Paycheck, in and out.
So the industry that I work, we have deliveries every fucking day, and it's the same guys that come every day, and then when they're waiting for elevators, if the elevators are broken down, they get mad because they get paid. So their goal is if you, let's just say, deliver 10 deliveries within your 8-hour shift, then you make $50. But if you get 10 done or 12 done, then you might get $60 or whatever.
Wow.
I'm just making up something, but they have these thresholds that if they're in time based. So if the traffic's bad, they get screwed over, and
That's wrong.
then they lose
I
money.
feel like
It's
it's
like
a
a
wrong
video
way to
game.
do it, though.
Well, I mean, but you sign up knowing that, though, right? So it's not like they surprise you. So it's an incentive to keep you productive, because the thing with truck drivers is it's all about productivity,
Slack.
right? There's so much downtime. If you just say go deliver this, you can just go home and eat, chill, watch TV. But the thing is, in order for this business to grow, where I work in downtown, why delivery matters is because you do business with a person that can deliver you stuff on like this, especially if it's food products. Because if you're low on something and you have a big function or whatever's happening, that you're able to provide. And if you can't do it, then we'll find someone else that can. So if you can't get the product out to me within the next hour, then you're not the person for me. So there's this dog-eat-dog competition in anything, right? So like these truckers have all this crazy, like they're always stressed, you know. They're always trying to come in and out and be as fast as possible so they can hit their threshold or quota. Same thing with UPS drivers. All of those work based on delivery. The more you deliver, the more you make.
Deliver that Dell.
So if you're less productive, then you get paid for that, you know. But there's this different random thought that I had. My brother-in-law was telling me that how algorithms is the future. He was saying that right now they have this logistics. If you want to be the next billionaire or next Facebook, if you can figure out an algorithm to solve like the logistics of delivery, you would be the next king. Because they have one already, like with Uber and stuff like that, but still not the level of preciseness that they would want in terms of the overall U.S. logistics working at such a global scale.
I feel like the variables are about to change.
Yeah. So
one thing I was reading about, remember I posted that article about retail stores?
Yeah.
They were saying that retail is about to change even more because once automatic cars, or autonomous, or not automatic, once autonomous cars become a big thing, then you yeah, I was like I said,
manual cars.
Once autonomous cars are a big thing, they can actually bring a store to your house. So cars will be basically like actual retail stores, just going wherever that you want. They can be on demand to whoever wants it.
Amazon started that in downtown. They call it the surprise truck or something. I forgot what the name was. What the concept is. They'll have a truck just driving around like in downtown. It will have the best deals for the week in that truck for the day. It's limited supplies, so you got to go find that truck, or that truck will come. If you want that product, so they'll have this truck and they'll have like 10 items for sale today. It could be cosmetic or home products or whatever, games. And if you order it, the truck will come and deliver it to you, but it's limited quantity.
Yeah, so they've already started doing that.
So you have to be. I think the idea is you have to be in a certain range of that truck, and if you are, then it can deliver to you. Then the whole logistics of getting that product out.
Yeah, I feel like they'll figure out that algorithm soon. And once there's like lights aren't as big a deal and humans aren't as big a deal on the road, it's gonna be all open. And once cars start to communicate with each other, it's game on.
A car can just drive in, and then you can just have your own road, bunch of collection of clothes that you wanted to see. You step in, try it on. If you like it, you take it. If you don't,
and it could be. It doesn't have to be the kind of car that we imagine now. It could be a huge car that you could walk into.
That you can stand. So just park somewhere, you walk right in.
And there could be somebody that checks you out.
Yeah, checks you out.
Yeah, this like really checks you out. No.
It's like a pop-up shop.
You look good.
Keep it. Take it to go.
Like even that whole Amazon grab and go, CVS type of stores that they're trying to open, where if you are Amazon Prime holder, you would have their account on their phone, and just by crossing this bar, it'll know you walked into a restaurant. It'll know your Amazon profile. As soon as you pick a product up, it charges you.
Yeah, that's gonna be the new Amazon grocery stores.
Yeah.
Or if you put it back, it refunds.
Yeah, it does.
Or return. Yeah.
That is really cool, though.
Yeah. So intuitive.
So you just go grab whatever you want. You get charged on the way out. So you just literally you go in, grab
basically
things.
Everything. What's really happening is that everything becomes digitized. The actual product, it's connected to some kind of digital monitor.
Yeah, and then
everything becomes digital.
And the idea of this is to get rid of cashiers.
Yeah, and then like even small little things. Like I have a client now. One of the things that they do is they don't have price tags anymore for even small items. You know how small items always have price tags?
Right.
Everything is digital. So he can actually know, I think, just like Amazon, that he has 5 of something.
Right.
It's like $2 each, or then he'll have 4, and everything, and his entire shelf is actually digitized.
You can even go and do that with food product if you know how many falafel a giant tub of falafel makes. So you can say like I have 100. Because this many ounces goes in each falafel.
Right.
So you know exactly how many you have on hand.
So is this kind of like the whole idea that Amazon had, where you're actually walking to a physical Amazon store, you like, take things off shelves and it just adds it? Oh, that's what you guys. Okay.
This is what happens when you go to the bathroom.
Sorry, guys.
Literally.
All right.
Z was so excited. He waited for his moment and pounced.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we're approaching the 5-minute mark to wrap it up. Is there any other topics anyone want to bring up before? Because I know it's been a while since we got together.
I think the world is going to crap.
It's going coming to an end.
The more we think of like us as an individual, I feel like it's worse. We need to stop looking at the differences and realize that we're all one. We're one species. We're all human.
Yeah.
Go from there.
I think that's a good viewpoint. I was thinking about this recently, that it's better to be a pessimist than an optimist, because when you're pessimistic about the future, then you might do something about it to make things better. But if you just kind of think like, oh, everything will be great,
Yeah.
you might not do what it takes to make sure that happens.
I'm
Right.
not saying everything's
I was
gonna be
thinking
great.
the opposite. Like at least optimists and people with hope would like actually take action. People who are pessimists don't see an action.
Yeah, it's funny that you see it that way.
Yeah, that's the
Exact
same.
opposite.
I'm just looking right left. Which one is true?
When you're a pessimist, you're like, fuck it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna think about this.
For me, like,
Yeah.
what I notice, like, if you just, for me, like, when I close my eyes and I picture natural selection and evolution of life, life always prevails. So good thoughts should prevail. Good ideas we go through a struggle, but somehow, like, maybe it doesn't. It's just, maybe a complete
Where
bias.
is good prevailing?
I mean, the fact that we're sitting here and nothing's happening to us, there's enough good happening that you're ignoring.
Of the 100 instances, let's say, that are happening around the world, like a
but
majority
there's-
of them are bad, I feel.
No, so here, there's 7 billion people in the world. Let's just say even there's 4 terrorist attack and 1,000 people died. There's still, 6 point some 9 something billion people that are still doing good and not causing harm. So you got to look at those percentages too. The problem with right now is that few small incidents are just blown up, and then we forget that we live in a city of millions of people, and then there are people doing harm, but overall are not. If they were, then it would be a war zone.
Yeah.
So the fact that at least where we live is not a war zone, so
Right.
there's some good happening that you can't ignore.
You're right about that. I think
Yeah.
things are good enough, like you
Yeah.
said, that we can sit here and we're still alive. However, it is very hard to measure good and bad, I think, because it's
Correct.
really muddy. Like, what is good, what constitutes bad, and then how do you measure that
Right.
across the board, which
Yeah.
is kind of hard.
I'm counting all human suffering. So those countries in Africa with super, super low GDP that don't even have basic medical supplies, you're seeing your mother, your father,
Yeah.
your brothers just struggle. No water, no clean water, no education, sexism where, women are being,
Yeah.
they can't study,
Right.
shit like that,
But you're saying that it's getting worse. Like, you think it's getting worse now in comparison to, say, 100 years ago. Is it actually worse?
No, I think it's gotten better. I mean, there's a lot of cities, there are a lot of
Still
countries
there.
that are not in a dictatorship anymore. They do have democracy. I mean, it could be corrupt, but we are taking the right steps to go forward. And even with the whole Elon Musk thing, where now he's trying to bring battery power, solar power
Right.
to like poor countries like these, where there are good people trying to make good efforts. It's just, I feel like even one person like Elon Musk out of the 7 billion people is making so many giant steps that if he's able to provide these poor nations with solar power just for free, just to fucking help them, it's gonna take them out of misery and suffering, and maybe they can one day create a government and country that that works for them. But
Absolutely.
but yeah, you're right. There are enough shit happening that's depressing, and we should learn from that. And learning from that, we should all somehow find a way to contribute and put back. The biggest thing for me has been like human progress. Ever since you talked about that in that book Shantram, that the whole concept of human progress is just like a light bulb that just turned on my head. And what I try to do, or what I'm going to teach my kid, is to partake in that. And the best way to doing that is to being either an artist or a scientist. I think those are the best 2 platforms to help push human progress forward. And I'm sure there's some other ones too, but those are the 2 that I really appreciate. And if she can do something within that field,
Right.
would be amazing. So like my life goals also has directed how I can contribute into human progress, and part of that is this podcast where we just fucking shit around and talk about an open-minded concepts that some other one individual might find useful, where they are able to take it and do the same thing that we did. It's just try to share that information and grow one another, not only as individuals but as a community, nation,
Absolutely.
civilization, humanity.
Yeah, but it does start from the individual again,
Yes, it
which
does.
is why I like Jordan Peterson again, because like when you talked about Elon Musk,
Yeah, it's one person.
First the individual has to change
Correct.
and rise to kind of be the hero,
Right.
and then you can connect with others and have more
Motivate
people
others.
with that
You become a leader. You follow them. You know, it's like a trickle down effect.
Yeah,
Where even if so many people oppose him, like, you know, wish they had, like, you know, when he was trying to be the only guy to provide what he wanted to be go into a private sector of providing rockets to
yeah,
people were making fun of him, like, you can't, that's a government thing, you can't do it, but he got it done.
yeah, because he could have waited, right? He could have waited and said, all right, I'm gonna work with the people around me, but he decided to be the one individual who just
people are
rose
saying you're
above
an
it
idiot,
all.
you're gonna lose billions of dollars,
Right.
you're gonna spend anyone can do it, but no company would invest in a thing that has no return, because it was like only people that would want to go to space are governments, and Neil deGrasse Tyson has a good argument for that. But he was still able to get shit done. Now he's, I think, has so many contracts under his belt where they're now making back the money and gonna break a profit soon or something like that.
Yeah.
So
and it's cool, right? Like all the incredible ideas you could argue throughout our history are always seen as crazy at first.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna fly, I'm gonna create light, I'm gonna go to Mars. They're always, and then like we talk about guys that are labeled as pseudoscience, right?
Right.
Like for instance, now you have Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson were called that, but now we're getting evidence that they're not kooks actually.
Yeah,
they just had ideas that were radically different, but they turned out to be true. And who else were we talking about earlier?
Paul
Yes.
Stamets.
Yeah, so him and his whole study of mushrooms and fungi.
So we're trying to wrap this up, but like this thought just comes into my head now. Like, so, you know, it takes that one guy and that one idea, but what if that idea is wrong, and if they are crazy, then what?
Then you get Hitler.
So and you get Hitler, and you get people that are the social justice warriors that have the good initial thought, but they take it tenfold, and now they're taking away our free speech.
Right.
Like, so like at what point do we acknowledge what's right way to follow, and that they are not really crazy, you know?
Right.
You know, like, are we just lucky that it worked out for Elon Musk, and he's working out in our favor as to help aid the human progress? Or like, how do you differentiate what's crazy and what's crazy? You know, like,
I think that's really
difficult.
Like,
so if you are a social justice warrior and you're questioning yourself, like, am I crazy, or am I the first to think this cool idea and I'm being opposed, like Elon Musk was being opposed? Like, how do you know that what you're going through, you know, what's right? Like, what could be some guiding tools that?
What are guiding tools? Like, is there a way to like measure something's absurdity? Right, like with the social justice warriors, when they say that we're gonna disallow freedom of speech in a way so that we can have
brings overall good, and I believe in that.
Yeah, and so we can do more good and have the right freedom of speech, like the right speech that can be spoken. So is that like, how can you tell if that's absurd, right, or wrong?
You should challenge your ideas, and you should actually read about them and read about history and kind of have some like hubris. Instead of thinking that you've solved something, you should probably think that somebody else has solved it before. Somebody else has thought of, you know,
of this before.
Before. It's probably not an original idea. You know what I mean? As much as people think they're special, and you would want to read about the history of these thoughts and how thoughts should be elocuted.
Yeah.
You kept using that word in the podcast.
So I guess another one would be like how we talk about
testing your ideas through like history.
I think like what I guess the answer would be for me that now when I think of an idea and if I think it's good, I use the accelerationism concept where I close my eyes and I see that idea just going up to the extreme edge, and is it providing overall good or bad? And anything obviously too much is bad for you, right? That anything of like a good diet, or, you know, eating bad food, working out too much, sleeping too much, anything of an extreme end is bad for you. So we can't, like, when I think when we were talking about earlier, his mom was saying like the social justice warrior would want to take your free speech away, like to protect, you know, like some of the ideas that we talked about. If you just think about that in extreme end, that just sounds nutty and wouldn't even work. Mm-hmm. So then that idea alone is flawed in a sense. So I guess the trick should be to see it at the extreme end. Yeah. And if it's not efficient, because nothing at extreme ever works, the universe is balanced every way, in shape or form. There's some sort of balance. There's a yin and a yang to everything.
Yeah.
so that, you can't take ideas to an extreme end because they'll just collapse, because like the universe, anything to an extreme end also collapses. So why would you want to collapse something? You would want a foundation where it has pillars, just like how our brain is programmed. You have love, you have fear, you have opportunity to be good and be bad. There's a yin and a yang in everything. So we can picture a world that's perfect.
So I guess it almost comes back to teaching people at a young age critical thinking, right? Because with something like seeing something at the extreme end of something, like with accelerationism, because we can only see what's in front of us. It's very difficult to see ahead. 10, 11, 12 steps ahead and see where it's all leading. Yeah. And since it's not that accessible, most people will not look at it that way. Right. And that would be the majority. And that's what kind of, I think, creates that problem.
It's a tough thing to crack. It's a own podcast on its own that we can dive into. Yep. But good segue to call it a night.
Yeah, sounds good.
We are back, hopefully. Took a little break because we lost a studio that we were sharing with someone. So that's why we weren't able to find a temporary place to start this again. And
please support us on Patreon.
We have found a solution. So we're gonna goals to start back. And it kind of sucked that we did take a break. But the more and more I think about it, I think we were able to figure out what direction we want to take it and make it better in terms of our YouTube content. We took a break off that too, because everything ever since we went on a vacation, when we came back, we lost the studio. So we just there was certain chain of events that one thing after another just made it difficult to get back onto the track that we were going. And the goal is to get back onto it and do it better, and be more awesome at it. So we do have this cool video already in the works that we're making. Hopefully, which our goal is to release it December 1st. So we were trying to do more like segments from our podcast and like different, like, what would you call it, like the stuff that we're doing before, like just reporting on ideas.
Like those informational
just writing, informational videos that we're doing. But now we're trying to take a different structure and route that I think we both enjoyed doing it. So check that out. It's gonna be releasing December 1st. I don't know. Should we tell them what it is, or just let it be?
Let's just surprise them.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Pop. This is what it is. So
give a thumbs up.
Yeah. So stay tuned into that. Hopefully we can. So that's my deadline to get it out. So pretty excited. It's gonna be the shit. But yeah. Any last words, guys?
Peace out, guys.
Thank you for tuning in.
Later.
Check you on the flip side.